what we were talking about it before, like the turkey season, it's kind of right in the midst of like, we've got all of this other shit to do. Like,
it's just kind of whatever, honestly. It's like, dude, even online, I see people shooting birds and get fired up, and I'm just like, I don't care. Just who cares? I'm like, dude. The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Hoyt.
Should be no surprise to anyone listening to this that back with Hoyt another season. I'm actually going to be shooting the AX2 aluminum this year.
You traitor.
But you're still going RX9.
Yeah, blacked out as always.
Blacked out. Yeah. Big surprise for everyone.
80 pounds. Big surprise. Yeah.
But seriously, man, I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Every year, it seems like we get a new Hoyt bow in our hands, and they're always a step above the last and just a step above everybody else.
Yeah, they're so consistent, man. Just their processes get better, every year. And we've really been excited about, as we've grown with Hoyt, we've brought some others in with us. And we just feel like the Hoyt family is growing, like the community, and we're really excited about the people that are involved, excited to be a part of that company. And it's really awesome.
So for anyone that's excited about Hoyt, like Jared and I are, you can use the code HUNTR, HUNTR, on Hoyt.com.
Get serious, get Hoyt.
And we're back.
Hey, yo.
HUNTR Podcast. I kind of hesitated. Episode 254.
I was wondering what goes through your mind in the seconds before the clap. I think it was, what number are we on?
Yeah, it's always what number are we on, even though I just said it before we started it.
Yeah.
254.
Well, it's a good thing you can remember, because I sure as heck can't. But
I have to go back, and I'm like, okay, Skip was 251. Then we had Dudley. Then we had Greg. Then, okay, 254.
I can hear Nick telling us in his minds there, so
yeah,
telepathically. But hey, thank you guys for being here. Whether you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast, those are the main places we drop these episodes every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern time. If you've written us on Instagram DM or the website, those are the two that we check the most frequently. And we do diligently try to get back to those. Some sit in the inbox, here and there. But
we're getting there.
If you haven't heard from us, try again, and we're doing
try
our best.
Again.
Yeah, please try again.
You've been unsuccessfully drawn.
We have some merch on the website, and actually some new stuff coming this summer, which I'm pretty excited for.
Got a new website coming soon.
We'll have a new website, and you guys have really helped us out a lot by have bought a lot of the stuff from us basically in the past, and that's cool, because that's that money helps a lot of it goes to Nick, frankly, helping him get Nick paid for helping us with this podcast. And
that's a Charleston cost of living. This is not cheap.
That's right. We got to keep up. It's inflation. We got to keep up with inflation. So but we try to keep that stuff's all reasonably priced.
Nick's really looking at buying a boogie board this summer.
That's right. That's right. So pull through for Nick. He's really counting on you.
he's counting on you.
So check that out. And other than that, here we go.
Here we go. Plot twist, just Jared and I.
Yeah.
Figured we did one not too long ago, about a month ago.
Yeah.
So we're like, man.
I don't mind it, dude.
Yeah, me either.
I don't mind it.
Yeah, I don't mind it. We've been working on the list of guests like coming up, and it's just been kind of running full steam. I mean, obviously, if you guys have been keeping up with the farm companion side, we just got back from Illinois because we're filming this on the 22nd. I don't know when this is gonna air, but it's gonna be in June. This is June sometime. So yeah, we just got done trying to figure out how we're gonna kill that guy next year, as well as several others. And we're getting ready to put beans in the ground on our home farms. And we've got TAC events coming up, and it's like full steam ahead at this point.
Yeah. I got some turkey hunting yet to do. Believe that.
That's crazy.
I know it feels like summer, and I'm like, is it too late?
Classic Pennsylvania.
Too late here?
It is basically summer. Like you can kill bird basically in first week of June in Pennsylvania.
I'm pretty confident in that. I don't think I've ever been turkey hunting with Lauer and not killed one.
Mm-hmm. So we were just talking. You've got the beast guillotine.
Oh yeah. Well, the decap is what it's called.
Oh,
the guillotine is the old original.
I gotcha.
I don't know who made that.
The decap.
The decap. Yeah. So I shot, blew out like 3 of my wife's pillows last night.
Sure, she loved that.
Getting that sucker dialed in, and cut myself pretty good. So that was a testament to the sharpness of those.
They're sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're sharp. So hopefully I can lop one's head off here this weekend.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Should be good.
Yeah, a little, it's fun to go and camp. We got quite a few guys coming. There's like 8 or 10 of them.
Wow.
I think. So we're gonna just have
the old Lauer camp.
Have the camp and Millstone, and maybe do a little trout fishing.
Is that Indiana County?
I don't know. I don't know.
Or just give me the address. I'll show up.
It's 2.5 hours north from my house. That's all I know.
No, it's probably not Indiana then. Is it his property?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's in Siegel, PA.
Oh, no. That's up towards Marionville.
Marionville. Yeah, it's right above the
Marionville.
Clarion River there.
Yeah. Yep. That's up by Cook's Forest.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I'll be there. I'm going to go up this evening. I'm going to go home and let the dogs out. So I'll probably roll in a 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
I can swing by liquor store probably and
obviously
Giant Eagle, sides.
Yep. Potato salad, bourbon.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think so. We'll hunt tomorrow morning. I mean, if I kill one tomorrow morning, the plan is to try. I want to try to stick through Saturday, but I mean, dude, overnights are tough. Like when you're married and stuff, it's like and you get. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. At least I'll hunt tomorrow morning and hang out for a better part of the day.
Go trout fish,
and then potentially through Saturday morning.
Rip a few lips. Yeah, that'd be good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of we were talking about it before. Like the turkey season, it's kind of right in the midst of like we've got all of this other shit to do. Like
it's just kind of whatever, honestly. It's like, dude, even online, I see people shooting birds and get fired up, and I'm just like, I don't care. Just who cares? I'm like, dude, you shoot one turkey, you shot them all, type of thing. It's fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed time with like Mike, and I'm looking, and it is fun. Don't get me wrong. Like when they're coming in, it's like it gets you jacked up, but like not enough for me to go out of my way to do it by myself.
Yeah, I enjoy it with the kids just because it's kind of that instant like gratification of birds are gobbling, like you're right into the action side of things, and but it fades quickly for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it always has. Like, I mean, I've always I've turkey hunted since I was young, but you went because it was what was in season, I guess. It was like if I could have went and shot deer in May, I probably would have went and shot deer in May. Like that would have been the priority. But you go for what's in season, and then most of the time by 10 o'clock you're on a trout stream somewhere because you're like, I'm done.
Well, you like what you like. I've just never caught myself daydreaming about turkey hunting. It's just it always is going to food plots, or in the past, there's been seasons of life. I can almost remember core passions of mine, and trapping definitely was one at one time where I was like, I mean, that's how you know. Whatever you catch yourself thinking about.
Yep, daydreaming.
When you're not meaning to daydreaming, I'm like, I used to think about like, setting dirt holes and like and intersection. I'm like multiple trap sets and stuff. And there's been other things. I mean, like when I was even a kid, I used to obsess about like when I was real young, one of our neighbors had chickens and had a chicken coop, and I was like one of my first obsessions that I can remember. I'm like, I had all the designs. I designed the coop. I read all the books, and I was like,
I'm gonna have chickens.
I'm gonna have chickens, and I never actually got
premonition to the egg prices.
Maybe.
Ooh, which by the way,
foresight.
Make sure I catch you before you leave. I've got like 3 dozen of eggs for you.
Okay.
I gotta grab them at the house though.
Okay. How long will those last?
Oh, a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I have like 4 dozen in my fridge.
Yeah, a long time.
It's maybe 2 or 3 dozen, but
yeah.
And so it went from chickens, as I can recall, to trapping was the next big one. I mean, there was obviously I had dirt bikes and things in between, that did that, but ultimately it was and bodybuilding was in there at one point. But then you land on the one. For the past 10 or 15 years, it's been the deer hunting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of cool. Like when even this morning, and we had big storms come through, so the turkeys are rattled. But normally every morning, like I'll go out and have coffee on my porch, and like I'll hear turkeys gobbling, and I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. Mm-hmm. But it's just like the atmosphere. It's the spring. It's green up. I've got a pond now in the backyard. It's not so much I'm like, ooh, I need to go out and kill those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just they're fun to hear.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear them.
Yeah, it's a cool
part of spring.
Part of spring. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's just, I don't know.
I don't get into the morels either, honestly. That's another spring thing that people get jacked up about.
No, me either. Yeah, I just
got shit to do,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't have time to go walk around and look for mushrooms.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm desperate.
They probably are great. I've had them. I'm pretty sure, but
I'm desperately looking forward to like just 2 days of tractor time.
Oh yeah.
Just like AirPods in, music on, tractor, sunshine.
It is a great place to be.
That's on
a tractor. Dude, tractors are just amazing equipment. Yeah. You know what I mean? They have so much power and torque, and you can get so much done with them.
It's
awesome.
funny though, because like even my wife, she'll be like, well, like. What are you doing? Like, listen, like I'm just, I don't think about anything. Like I'm just in my element, just like clear, like maybe the only time
I'll tell you what you're thinking about.
clear mind.
You're thinking about when you're spraying, at least you're reading the field. It's like a Native American reading the river.
Yeah.
You acquire that skill of differentiating the tire tracks and and navigating the field. It's a spatial awareness. It's like I know in my head I'm always on like fourth pass, and I'm like.
Well, we talked about how we count our laps.
I know the
stuff.
distance. Oh yeah.
But you're just in a zone on that stuff. It is funny, like when you just kind of know. And I don't know how. Like there are some people that are really bad at like. I'll watch them spray, and I'm like, dude, you just missed like a giant area. Like, what are you doing? And
drives me crazy.
They're just like, no, I got it. I'm like your tire track. Like you could clearly see. Like when you make
and I. It's funny that you and I didn't like get in a fight even, is because I was like, hey, I'm just not even gonna watch. But
that's what we were spraying Paul's, and I was like, hey, I was like, how many? You're like, oh, I don't know. I'm just like here as the ride bitch.
Passenger princess.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. I was like, we got it. But it's just like you go and you can see. It's almost like mowing grass where you have that like weird satisfaction of like lines this way, lines, and it's the offset. So I see that same thing when I make that turn. I'm like, okay, different shade of tire tracks this way means I go this way, and then different shade of tire tracks.
It's tough, dude. If you don't know what you're looking for, I can easily see how you would just get lost in the field, especially the big ones. We did.
Well, that's why those guys have GPSs in their thing. They just plug it in, and then they are passenger princesses. I think they just like let it eat.
Yeah, for sure. And it's nice if you like are planting or spraying into something that tire tracks are obvious. Like if you're the first one through a standing grass field or something, you're spraying, you're like, yeah, no problem. Or like if there's tilled dirt or something, you got it. But when I've already been through there with a fertilizer and with a
we should definitely talk to Bill at Spartan Forge about that. That should be like an automatic like tractor thing, and then just like so I can like pull it up and be like, oh yeah, I covered all that.
For sure. Well, we haven't messed with that. I mean, I know you can track. I don't know if it's accurate to that level, because I think some of the tractor GPSs are.
Well, they sent like the co-op sent us that map of like here's where we sprayed, and we're like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Like, to the T.
Impressive.
Yeah. So. But yeah, so I mean that's kind of the spring side, spring into summer side, and then really like I don't know, June's not a grind just because I'm it's anticipation. Like by the time we get to the end of June, I'm already like I know that deer, I know this deer. Who's that?
I used to put all my cameras out in June. Like yeah. I mean they're growing.
Yep.
At this point, I'll probably hold off till July.
To June. Oh.
Well. Not that we won't have any cameras running, because
we got them running now.
I like having them running on the plots. Like I said, I like to see the progress and make sure we're not missing stuff. Dude, those weeds will freaking get away from you if you don't stay on top of them. They will get away from you. So
yeah, no, that's a big one. Yeah, it's just kind of keeping an eye on things, especially when we're talking about remote properties that you just don't get to often. I mean, cameras are a great spot for that. But yeah, it's cool to see. Like even right before this, I was like, hey, here's this guy. He looks good. This guy looks good. So. Yeah, they're starting to put some velvet on. I mean, really, by the time you're listening to this, we're into June. June, July are like an inch a day type growth, or more. August,
July especially.
August really starts tailing down and calcifying and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, we're in it fully at this point. Like you're gonna start to see deer that you're gonna be like, that deer is gonna be something.
Dude, it's really amazing how much antler they can put on their heads in that amount of time. I was holding my Iowa rack the other day. Last night, actually, and I was like, how do they grow this much, like, over the course of just, like, a few months?
Wild, isn't it?
It's insane. Like, just the bone mass that's there, like, the density, it's like, holy cow.
When you think about it, it's like, first priorities are they're repairing the body, right? Coming out of winter and everything, so it's like repair the body. That's priority one. And then it's like, okay, now put resources to the antler side of things.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it's, that's where we go back and forth all the time. Like, those deer need high quality protein. They need, phosphorus. They need calcium. They need all of these things in a macro level to really grow those antler sets. But it's also really evident. Like there's a few deer that I'm looking at that I'm like, boy, that deer's got really big bases, but they're behind, and it's probably because of late shedding of those antlers. Like right now is that time frame where at some point they all kind of catch up, right? But like right now you're looking at some of those and they're like, man, that deer's not that far along, and it's because he probably shed late. you know, versus some that shed early that may look way ahead of it. Like you can't really gauge anything at this point because of that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Granted, I'm only I got two, 3 cameras running, just like on random scrapes and stuff, and they are hitting them. The only one that I recognized is what's his name? In Ohio.
Temptation.
That 4-year-old, yeah, Temptation.
Yeah, I think that was that one deer where it was kind of like laying out.
I'm pretty sure it was, and he, as early on as he was, you were starting to see some stuff already. You had a kicker off one of those bases. Something else going. He had a split brow too.
Yep.
So yeah, he'll be. I think you're right. I mean, he'll be high. I don't think he's as big as we think. I think he's
because
just
of his body.
Yeah, so he might go mid to high 50s, maybe push into the 60s this year as a 4-year-old. But the problem with that is like, man, they're beautiful deer, and those are the ones that you're like, oh, like just the potential, like you know, you give them another year or two, and that, like, you know, those are your 180s.
Yeah, and
there's just no way, you know, between the neighboring pressure and, you know, our own dynamic on the farm. Not saying they're wrong, you know. I mean, it's like we're considering the likelihood of the deer living, and it's just like, boy, it's
I think
slim. So do you shoot it or not?
Yeah, I think the most fun I had this year. This isn't one. This is obviously from Illinois, but like I've got the 2 Ohio bucks in there that were both 3-year-olds this year, and Kevin and Finn found a shed off of each of them. So obviously, score that shed, give it a spread, match the other side, and you've got a score. And then I was putting them through those algorithms to kind of say, like, if it was 3, here's how much he's going to grow to 4. And, like, both of those deer are going to be right around 50 as a 4-year-old, you know? And so that's an interesting kind of mindset to, like, get you excited about the potential. Is like, even this deer who was 4 to 5, like this deer, I think when we scored him, what was he, 47 or something?
No.
43?
43 or 44.
I think I had him matched at like 55 to 56 next year as an 8-point.
That's a monster 8-point.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's cool to like kind of get that visualization already in the head of like, especially, you know, the 4s to 5s are tough because they don't jump as much, but those 3 to 4s are the really cool ones. Because if you know that score or an approximate score because you found a shed or whatever at 3, that deer's going to make a really big jump to 4. You know, you're talking basically a 20 to 30 inch jump in that time frame.
Yeah. See, I'm generally pretty discouraged with 4-year-olds, like overall, just because in your mind,
you know, they're so close to getting potential.
In your mind, you're like, oh, he's going to be a giant, and then they turn up and they score a lot better probably than they did as a 3-year-old, but they still just look
wiry,
juvenile.
Yeah.
Like they still look like kind of a racehorse. And you're like, you can't help but feel like, ugh, he probably just needs another year.
And it'd be great if he could get him there.
Who was that one? The unicorn buck.
Yeah,
he was awesome at 3. He was probably, I don't know, mid 30s, pushing 40 maybe. And as a 4-year-old, I think he was
50s.
I think he was low mid 50s. Yeah, he was mid 50s. Awesome, like mainframe 12 with a big kicker off his. He might have a separate pedicle there. Neighbor killed him at 4. Neighbor kid, I think.
Obviously.
And he was one that when he showed up, it just was like, I was excited because I was like, that's him. And yeah, it looks great. But I'm like,
4.
I just I didn't have that feeling in me like I wanted to shoot him.
Yeah, and that's the problem, man, because especially when we talk about Ohio or you know, even in Kentucky or some of these other states, it's like you've kind of got to wrestle with yourself a bit in that, like, I think there's parts of us and a lot of people probably listening to this that enjoy watching and growing those deer. And what every year, you know, like in Kentucky, this is the 3rd year that I've had that Kentucky farm. So essentially the deer that are turning 4 were 1 when I bought it, right? And now they're making it to the 4-year-old group. And so, like, there's an anticipation of, like, man, I saw what those deer did from 2 to 3, and now I'm about to see what they do from 3 to 4, and I'm excited to see what they'll be from 4 to 5. But there's a reality that can set in, too, that it's like, you know, maybe 3 of those deer of the 7 or 8 that started at 1 made it to 4. Is one of them going to make it to 5?
Yeah.
Right? Like, because you're losing them every year. And so that becomes the hardest part, is like you enjoy watching them grow, but at the same time, every year going through the conversion loop, you lose some of them. At least in our situations, as I assume as most.
Every situation.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they just die. You know?
Yeah. So it's, that becomes the hardest part. And so we talk about expectations on these farms, and it's like, okay, even at 4 years of owning a farm, the deer that were 1 when I bought it are now 5, which is awesome. They hit maturity. But you probably have lost at least 75% of those deer, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
So, now you're going back and saying, okay, well, what about the deer that were after that are now 3? Like, were there more that made it through to 2 and 3? Like, you can kind of start to collect the data and have that expectation of saying, okay, only
are there odds of survival increasing?
Exactly, because of the work that you're doing, because of and it should be like there are outside circumstances
and or holding capacity.
Exactly. And so those are the things that you start to like wreck your brain with, and man, that shit will drive you crazy.
Yeah.
Because
the holding capacity is that's using like just the odds, trying to stack the odds in your favor.
Exactly
the more mature bucks that you can hold, still the same number of them like they're going to get killed, but that's a lower percentage of the ones that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So it should yield a higher number of mature bucks,
mm-hmm.
come hunting season.
Yeah, and not to mention the ones like we've talked about it with Illinois, where it's like we saw this giant, probably 5-year-old this year, 8-point. We saw one time. We were able to go back last year and say, oh, that was this deer from last year. But it's like, okay, we saw him only at night, but more times last year than we saw him once after the season this year. So he made it through, which is great. But, is that a possibility? We would like to think so. But we're also like, we know that we're on the edge of his area, basically.
I feel like I pretty intimately I know where this deer's gonna go. I think he's gonna be 156 next year.
Yep, he'll be a stud, and we know how he's.
I just in my head I can see what he's gonna look like. He's just gonna be a little bit heavier.
Mm-hmm.
He's just gonna be, I bet he doesn't really throw any chicken. If he does, maybe he'll throw like a little something at the base here. But he's just long tined and long beamed, and he's got these giant brows, and
mm-hmm.
that's where he's getting it.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna go 156. I don't think this deer is gonna do much.
That's
I think
at 9.
Yeah, he doesn't have like.
He'll be heavy.
Yep, he'll just be heavy 5-year-old. He'll be on the list for sure.
He'll probably be like one of those 30s to 40s 5-year-olds that we killed the first year.
Yeah, he'll be. Yes, he'll be a little. He's a little better. He's a little better, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that deer will go 40s probably.
Mm-hmm.
Low 40s probably as a 5-year-old.
Yep. So yeah, man. I mean, we get into those things, and it's like. Those are the ones that keep me up at night. It's just kind of waiting to see, like even right now, like I'm looking at, a couple cameras on that farm, and I'm like, okay, there's that deer, probably a 2 or 3-year-old. And then all of a sudden you see another deer, and you're like, that's probably one of these 4-year-olds. I should have a 6-year-old on that farm this year that made it through.
Yeah.
So it's, those are the things that I kind of drive myself crazy with of saying, and it's because in a weird way, like I enjoy seeing them make it through every year as much as I do hunting them every year.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think of the term, or like the mindset that you would find yourself in, to where it's like it's not a place of pessimism, but it's a reality, and it's like the state that we find ourselves in is like every year doing everything we can to set the stage, and hoping that you have 1 or 2 of these like the 1%
mm-hmm.
type deer but you can't expect them. Like
mm-hmm.
you expect them to die, because that's just what they do.
Yeah.
And so it's tough. Like it just puts you in a pool of like, but also I think along the way you realize like it's so much more fun to grow them than it is to kill them.
Yeah.
Ultimately, yeah, that's the objective. You know what I mean? You want to go in and reap the rewards from, the work that you put in. You want to kill one. You want to kill a giant buck. You want to have that epic experience, whatever it is. But the journey and like the most fulfilling aspect of that is the years leading up to it. It's like, you saw this thing from 1-2 years old. He made it to 5, 6 years old, 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And all of like the near misses, like near deaths, maybe you put an arrow or 2 in them, maybe the neighbors did, like you said, 75% or more of them are going to die, so he's one of the few that made it to that point. And so that's what makes those animals so special, when you finally get to have a full circle moment to where you kill one.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty special. And to get to a point where you're able to do that every year So think about all of
I know.
everything I just described, you know, the odds being against you, the work that's having to go into it, the time that has to pass, and then to get those things to line up every year is really amazing. If you're killing mature bucks on property that you own or manage every year, that's really something.
I think it's probably one of the hardest things for a deer hunter who's buying land for deer hunting is to not kill deer on their property. You know, and if I look back even in Ohio, like that buck I killed last year who was a 5-year-old, that's the first deer I've killed on that farm, and I've owned it since 2021. Right? So I've owned it for multiple years. I've hunted it, and I've not – Carter killed a 2-year-old 7-point, but other than that, like I didn't kill a deer on that farm.
Dude, my farm in Ohio, I haven't killed a buck off that farm since 2019.
Yeah, Spaniard.
It's a 1,000-acre farm. Yeah, and I haven't killed a deer over well, that one there's the biggest one I think I've killed on our farm, and he was like kind of a freak.
That was in 18 that you killed that? No, 19 you killed him.
Yeah.
That's the last one, right?
Yeah.
18 you killed Spaniard.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's the last deer you killed on the farm.
Yeah, and the point there being that it's just like if that's the goal, you know, if you want to kill, I mean, and that's a 4-year-old deer right there. So I think even now my standard is like a teetering on the line there of like, do I want to shoot these 4-year-olds or not? But across the board, I think the goal would be, you know, we want to shoot 5-year-old and older deer. And you're not going to do that on the same farm every year, more than likely. And so I've killed deer on permission farms in Ohio, on my farm in Ohio, on our farm in Illinois, on Kansas ground, in Iowa, in North Dakota. We've had to like go to all these different places and set up all these different stages if to even be close to, you know, trying to achieve what we're trying to do.
Yeah. And I think that's probably, if we talk to people enough on it, like that's the hardest part for I think some people to understand. And it is weird. It's like, you know, people say, well, how do you hunt all these states, right? In actuality, like I might not hunt my Kentucky or Ohio place that hard if there's not a deer that I'm wanting to kill. Like if anything, I'm there with my dad or my kids or something else. Like if there's not a deer that I'm after there, as crazy as it seems, because I put all the work into it, I'm just not going to hunt it. And I do think that now looking back on some of these, like, and again, I don't know where I'll end up, but yesterday I was sitting there reviewing all of these pictures I had in Ohio from last August and September. And dude, I was stacked with good bucks. Like I think I said 17 bucks over 3 years old on that property. It's crazy. And it's probably because for the 2 years prior to that, I didn't hunt them. I didn't kill anything.
Yeah.
Like I just let them go. Right. And so, yeah, you're going to have neighbor pressure and you're going to have things like that. But the reason we kind of look towards the outside of our states that we have land in is because it's like there's a good chance that we're not going to hunt some of these places because we just don't have a deer that we want to hunt. And I'd rather put all the work in and enjoy the season, enjoy the hunting, and watch them get through to the next year than go out and shoot them as a 3-year-old.
Well, and that's why you have options, because that doesn't mean don't hunt. It just means don't hunt there.
That's exactly it.
You know, so like in our Illinois farm, fortunately, like it's in a good enough area, and we've done enough to it that I would expect to have at least one buck, at a bare minimum, at least one buck for one of us to shoot per year, even if it's a management buck.
Agree.
We're going to have deer in that mature age class, you know. And more than likely, you know,
and that's the area and that's the state that it's in that allows that.
Yeah. And more than likely, the hope would be that we can get to a point where, I mean, dude, I don't know what's realistic for every 2 to 3 years for you and I each to kill like a trophy buck off of that farm. I think is realistic, but it's not like I don't expect to shoot a 170 personally off that farm every year. I don't think that's realistic between you and I hunting it and the neighboring pressure. It's just not likely.
Is there a 170 in the area every year? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Barring we don't have EHD, you know, or something like that. But there is one in the area every year.
And I would drive out there for, you know, what I mean, if when the situation aligns. You know, I would drive out there for a 130, for a 140, for one of these bucks. It's like I still want them taken out. That's part of our farm goal for that. So
yeah, because I was talking to my dad when we came back from Illinois, and he's like, well, what do you think this year's gonna be like? I'm like, I don't know, man. I was like, to be honest, like we made a lot of progress last year, but I had way more fun on our property the first year because we both killed a buck in bow season, and then you killed Floppy in gun season, and it was you were with me when I killed mine. You had Paul and everybody there, and Cam when you killed yours, and then we had both the dads when you killed Floppy. Like there, last year was kind of like we hunted there.
We didn't kill anything.
We didn't kill anything.
Yeah.
You went back and hunted by yourself. You didn't kill anything. Like it as much as progress we made, and we had good bucks on that property. It didn't pan out, and so
I see. And I felt like I mean, it wasn't like a fun meter, that I was measuring as much as like I learned a lot more this second year.
Absolutely.
Because we had to hunt it more. You know what I mean? I just, things had changed, and like we had changed the farm, and it just things didn't line up, but I learned a lot about the farm last year. So this year going into it, I feel as optimistic as I ever have in terms of like our knowledge of the farm, the bucks that should be there, the crop rotation that's going to be in place. I think this year is going to be a banger.
Should be. Yeah. You never know. But yes, I would say that it should be a really good one. But with that said, like we look back at our home places, like, I don't know, I'll probably chase some deer on the mountain in Pennsylvania. Ohio, we'll both have deer to hunt in Ohio. And then we'll see what I have in Kentucky that shows up. But we, like every year, it's kind of like we always try to plan at least one solid trip outside of our owned properties. Yeah. So last year was Iowa, and we put in for Kansas just for points, knowing that we were going to hunt Iowa. Yeah. So this year we put in for Kansas, though not confirmed. Looks like we're going to get hit on our credit card. We drew Kansas. Yeah. So that's
which we should. I mean, the odds are very high with 1 point.
So per all indications,
we'll be in Kansas.
We'll be in Kansas with the dads and Uncle Dale.
HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Deer Grow.
Man, we've been using Deer Grow products for a long time. The Plot Start and Plot Boost, more recently Plot Till. Now we've got 3 new liquid fertilizers that have been put in the mix that will cover everything we could want for a food plot program.
It's huge, man. The more food plotting we do, it's like, man, the liquids just make sense. Like whether it's herbicides or the Plot Start and Plot Boost, and now the fertilizers get mixed in. It's like, man, I can combine all of those in certain cases and do less passes for more results.
I mean, it's all about efficiency. I mean, like you said, less passes. If you're out there treating your beans with glyphosate in the summertime, you can mix in this fertilizer, do that all at once. You have the boost in there to help some metabolism. It's all about efficiency when we're talking about food plots. And really the big difference on these liquid fertilizers is you're bypassing some of these soil limitations, pH limitations, the soil type. In a lot of cases, we talk about dry fertilizers only being available for 17% of what you put down in the first year. These liquid fertilizers straight into the plant are 90% available in the first year. Huge difference in what you're going to see in growth.
It's huge. And so right now you can use code HUNTR15 for 15% off any of the Deer Grow products on their website. And as always,
better food plots, bigger deer. So that's exciting. It's nice to finally be like, okay, we're drawn. That's happening. Put it in the books.
Yeah.
So that'll be good.
I'll throw this out there too. So we're hunting with a guy. It's a really cool situation here, and I think that I don't really like over publicize it here, but there are some opportunities to maybe tap into some of this in the future. I mean, it's like it's not exclusive in the sense that it's like it's like members only type of a thing, but it's
more controlled.
There's an effort to be selective on certain bucks in this thing here, and so I think that and there's room, frankly, So if anybody is interested in like a quality Kansas experience that you can draw probably every other year type of a thing on, and maybe share a camp with us at some point, that would be, you guys can write us on that, and maybe we'll just point you in the right direction on that. So.
And we're going to do the standard live from deer camp there. Yes. And then we'll do
so you guys will see where that is eventually.
We'll do a podcast with him as well while we're out there. Yep. So that'll be cool. On the downside, we did not draw North Dakota again.
Yeah. Guess they call it no DAC for a reason.
Jeez, man. I mean, and
no
listen,
DAC for you.
No DAC for you. No DAC for you. I mean, kudos to them, first off. Like, they're doing it right. Jared and I talked, so it was first year of COVID. So fall of 2020, we went to no DAC. And if you go back literally, I think to episode 1, maybe, we talked about no DAC, the first no DAC trip. Does that sound right?
What? Sorry.
Episode 1 was no DAC trip that we talked about.
Yeah.
So if you go back to episode 1, of which sound sucks, everything sucks, but you could listen to it. We went to Nodak in September of 2020. We both killed public land deer on the first and second day, and then left. Drew on 0 points.
Yep.
2021, we came back, drew on 0 points again. We had the cameramen with us, so you could go back even on YouTube and look. We did some short films and stuff.
That was the second year?
That was when we were hunting the grasslands and stuff.
2 years in a row?
Yeah, 2 years in a row.
Okay.
But it was a massive drought. Like literally, I think the rain stopped the day we left in 2020, and it didn't come back.
Yeah.
So we had fun. We chased a ton of deer. I mean, we hunted our balls off. Unsuccessfully left there. 2022, drew again on 0 points. Still in a drought.
That's right.
We declined the tags. We were like, hey.
Why was that?
Because of the drought.
Because of the drought.
Yeah, it was still in an epic drought, and they had some EHD issues. We're like, yeah, it's just not.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Like we struggled really hard the year before. It's going to be even worse this year. So then we gained, we didn't have any points. So then 2023, we put in, didn't draw. This first year we didn't draw, we got a point. 2024 we put in, didn't draw, got a point. So we had 2 points going into this year's draw, did not draw. Oh. And the reason is, I think the first year that we put in, there were 880 non-resident any deer archery tags. I don't know what it was this year, but as of last year, it was down to like 300
I think
and some.
It's 300 something, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, they, almost a third cut down, or almost a third of what it was total when we were drawing. So, 2 points and we didn't draw, and we'll keep putting in. But is it disappointing? Yeah, because, man, that trip in the Badlands in September is such a blast. Like, you want to talk about us being in our element. Like, are
you disappointed? I mean, are you? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I am, just because that is...
it's a great way to kick it off.
Yeah, like, and really that's
in some ways relieved, though, right? You're like, okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because my conflict is always Kentucky Velvet.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like, that's my adventure trip for the year. Because Kansas is fun, but that's not like an adventure trip. Like and I don't go out west hunting. So that's my adventure trip for the year, and it's manageable. So not having it and now being, we haven't hunted out there since 2021.
Well, let me put this out there. We potentially have a pretty good situation in South Dakota.
I hate South Dakota but that's the only problem.
Well, but our experience with that was like not the best. We rented like a base camp lease, and it was like, this is terrible.
Yeah, it was absolutely miserable.
It was awful.
Yeah. Then we got permission, and then the guy said we didn't have permission, and it was...
Yes, but even in spite of that, we had some opportunities on that permission piece there, and so I'm hopeful that like what I could get lined up here would be comparable to that.
I'd be open to hearing about it.
To hearing about it. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's I just... Honestly, it's also the environment. Like, North Dakota's where we were at, environment is way cooler than that South Dakota part.
No doubt.
No DAC?
No doubt.
Yeah. So anyways, that's part of it. So so disappointed, yes. Happy that they're going about it the right way. I assume that at some point when we do draw, it will be a banger because of the hunting pressure that's been off of there.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not in a drought.
Hopefully it's next year.
Well, and honestly, I right before we found out we didn't draw, I'd gone back and looked at some of the stuff, and I'm like, dude, they've had less than an inch of rain all year up until last week. They got a 2-inch rain. So, like, it's not good, again, out there either from a moisture standpoint.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I got to think that, like, we are in the upper tier of, like, number of points. You know what I mean?
Especially when everybody was drawing with 0 points.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think there's many people with more than 2 or 3 points.
You wouldn't think so.
Wouldn't think so. Unless we were just getting super lucky the first couple of years.
I mean, very possible, because the guy who turned us onto it was like, hey, it's like an every other year type of draw. And then it was like 3 years in a row, to the point where that's why we declined the third year, because we're like, oh, we'll just go next year.
Yeah.
And then
can't not draw.
Never happened.
Right.
Hasn't happened since.
No DAC for you.
Yeah. So at some point we will draw a no DAC, and it will be epic.
Yeah.
It's just not in the cards this year.
Yep.
For us.
Yep.
And that's it. We have no other draws in. So, like, the draws have been completed. The cards are laid on the table.
I got a pile of points, dude, in like all those Western states.
You didn't draw. Where were you fearful?
Yeah, Montana.
Oh, yeah. And you didn't draw.
Yeah. I got a check for $1,200 back in the mail. I was like, I spent $1,200 on this. Holy crap.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they do. You have to pay for the whole thing.
So
and then
just gained another point out there.
I have like 4 points in Montana.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So, yeah, I mean, so all the draws are done. Cards are on the table. We drew Kansas. Mm-hmm. So at this point, we have all the home farms in Kansas third week in November, which kind of
just more than enough. I mean,
oh, dude, it brings a little more structure to it.
Yeah, it does.
Because like even with Iowa last year, you and I were like, hey, when the timing's right, we're just going.
Yep.
So it was like it was all up in the air.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have a week that we're like, hey, we are going this week. It was just whenever the weather's right. In Kansas forces us to have a structural, like it's this week.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, backfill everything up to it.
Yep. Well, and there's some open-endedness to that too. So I mean, we'll have to figure out leading up to that truck or that trip if we need like multiple vehicles, or I assume we're driving and not flying, probably. But like we have the ability to stay or go a little on the front end, I think, if necessary. So I mean,
yeah.
You know what I mean? It just if the weather is like, hey, on the tail end, I mean, that's how I killed that North Dakota buck, because I pushed my trip to 2 or 3 days, to catch that front. So we have that option.
Mm-hmm.
Have that option. So, but man, we're gonna be in a great area, I feel, and I'm super.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
My expectations for that are high.
Yes. Yeah, extremely high. Yeah,
I don't know if I'm gonna kill a 187 like I did in Iowa, but I mean,
not many people will be.
There'll be there may be some in the area.
Yeah. So, I think we're in the right spot. We've got the right access. We're with the right guy. Dad's and Uncle Dale in camp. Everybody's drawn. It's gonna be fun. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully there's pressure that's taken off leading up to it of like whether we kill one in the home farms or in Illinois or whatever. Like we'll have done a lot of hunting up until that point. In fact, that's kind of like that caps the rut for us, really. Because we come back and it's Thanksgiving.
Yep.
So Illinois gun seasons are already done.
Does that roll right into it? When does Illinois gun season start?
It will be when we are in Kansas.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. Boy, that's early.
Yeah. So it'll be that first Saturday, I think, when we're in Kansas.
Okay. Dude, I'm stoked to get Uncle Dale on the podcast.
That'll be fun.
You guys will have fun with that because it'll just be him like telling you how whatever of a kid I was.
They'll be excited.
Uh-huh.
We'll have to keep the brothers separated at the table.
Oh yeah.
Just put you in between them.
Get a couple of yellow jackets in him. Yeah, Dale's a good time. He likes to.
Yeah.
He likes to party with the guys, with the boys.
That camp is gonna be something.
Mm-hmm.
That live podcast is gonna be pretty freaking epic.
I'm glad that we are tightening the rein on it a little bit too, as far as some of those properties and stuff. So I think that's going to be a good situation to just all be in the same boat.
Yep.
No,
we're
not tailing off doing our own thing.
No, I think it'll be really nice. It'll be awesome. So yeah, we've got that. And then it's just kind of building everything up to the home farms, and I think that I'll end up. I don't know. I haven't looked to see. I assume late September's Ohio's opener again.
Probably
somewhere around there.
Or
yeah, whatever that last Saturday is.
Mm-hmm.
So that week I'm gonna hunt Ohio hard, I think, because if it's anything like last year, by October 10th, most of my deer kind of disseminated out.
I'd bet you money I could kill, or one of us could kill Temptation on that water hole that week.
Mm-hmm.
I'd put money on it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
I said that last year too, and I never saw that other deer. So.
He was there a lot.
Good thing I'm not a gambler.
He was there a lot.
Yeah.
When you weren't.
No, I was talking about that 8 point. Remember? I was like, he's done. There's like a 90% chance he's done this week.
Never saw him.
Never saw him. No.
We
saw the deer, but not that trip. Not He's there, and frankly, he's one that I may try to key on again. Same spot. I mean, that's the spot to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have that corn access this year.
Yep.
I'm gonna go in and put a vine scrape and see if I can get him on a pattern there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be a good spot for it.
I'd love to kill that deer. He'd be a 6-year-old.
Wow.
145-inch 8 point maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But that's fine. That's what
you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
him or Flyer.
Flyer could blow up.
Of all the deer, I think he's got.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I mean, Temptation maybe is better potential, but Flyer will be 5 this year.
5.
So, and he looked good last year.
GR8.
He looked a lot like that deer.
GR8
honestly.
will be just GR8.
Yeah, and I'd shoot him, obviously.
That was the surprising one, right? That when you got the shed, you're like,
what a turd. Yeah, I thought for sure. I was like, get your mid 40s.
40s.
Not a giant, but I was mid 40s, 8 points, probably what he is. And I thought 140 last year, probably. It's like he didn't put much on at all, but I found shed. I found the right side off of last year and the year before, both on this past spring. And I was like, boy, what a turd. Like if this deer goes 130, I'll be surprised.
Yeah.
You know, and he was honestly like, he was like identical, like from this year and last year, like no change.
Maybe he'll blow up then.
He could.
Yeah, maybe something happened.
He could blow up for sure. Also, there was some stuff not looking great on this year's horn, though, if I recall, like a little bit of infection looking thing.
Ooh.
So who knows if he'll even be
Make
around.
it. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, those are the hard ones to kind of look at, and just, you know, when you have that anticipation, and everybody's done it, like, especially if you've got a buck that you know made it through. I mean, there may not be anything worse than, like, knowing a deer made it through, and then, like, the next year you're like, where the hell is he? You know, when you know whether you saw him shed. That's that giant deer in Kentucky as, like, a 2-year-old or whatever. Found a shed. Mm-hmm. And I was geared up this year from the show up as, like, a possible, like, mid to high 60s deer. Never showed up.
Never showed.
Like, where the hell did he go? Mm-hmm. What happened to him?
Mm-hmm.
Did he die? Did he just move off? Will he show up next year?
I think Crazy Horse will be that for us this year. Like, of all the deer that I'm wondering, will they show up? I think he's the one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it was like we saw him a lot in the late summer into mid-October, and then gone. Like, nothing. And then you physically see him in November.
The other one that would like really throw me off would be if Mike Honcho shows up, because I think he's dead. I think he's probably dead. Odds are very good that he's dead.
Be a monster.
But if he shows up, he'd be a monster.
Like a 170-inch 4-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably dead.
Mike Honcho.
I mean, that's the hardest part. I'd be curious.
That's a great deer name.
Yeah, it is. I'd be curious if people listening to this if like. I don't know what the best way to go about it is. I would love to just have better knowledge and communication with the neighbors of like what they're killing.
Well, ours is real good on one side. I texted Jim that 8-point the other day. I said, it popped in my mind. I said, hey, I don't know if you saw this or not, the sheds. He's like, I did see that, but thank you for thinking of me, you know, and just build some rapport there. So
also need to report a trespasser on his property to him.
Oh, you do?
I said I need to. I want to tell him about that guy driving across his crops. That's not cool. On Jim's.
Oh,
to the north.
Different guy. I'm talking James. Other guy.
James.
Z Ranch.
Oh, yeah. I'm talking other Jim.
Yeah.
Jimbo.
Yeah, that's Jimbo. I texted our Jim.
Yeah.
The other Jim and gave him a heads up.
Jimbo.
Yeah, you should give him a heads up on that. He'll appreciate that.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a great opportunity there. But it's just like, you know, especially with how much ground these deer are covering, like you need to have enough ears to the ground on 3-4 properties away type of thing. Like, I mean, think about like when Goose got killed, you know, that was, how long did it take you to know that deer got killed?
Not that long.
No.
But that's because I found out through Jed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there's just places that you can do it and places that you can't. Like at our farm in Ohio, there's no communication with neighbors because I just know they're not gonna even if I'll share pictures and stuff if they want, but like I have no expectation of them passing anything that I would ask them to.
Do the same in my Kentucky farms.
Mm-hmm. But in Illinois, it's nice because I don't feel like we're having to ask people to pass stuff. It's more just like, hey, everybody is somewhat on the same page. Like we just share our opinion of age and our history with them, and maybe let them know what we're gonna do, and then it is what it is, you know. And you know, I said the odds of them not getting shot are slightly higher out there, but I mean, dude, the reality is like the number of people that will pass a 4-year-old mid-60s deer is like it's probably less than 1% of all hunters in the country.
Like, I can't blame them.
Yes. I mean, it's not about blame or not. It's just the reality. It's like,
I mean,
that's a big deer.
You put that one across my bow, and I'm still considering it.
I know. I know.
Yeah, I mean,
I know. Well, even this deer here, you know what I mean? It's a mid-40s 8-point. Like,
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
What is the number of people out there that wouldn't shoot that deer? Like,
not many, man.
1 in 1,000.
Not many.
You know, I'm not trying to glorify like what we did there, but it just is what it is. It's just the reality of deer hunting. You know.
Yeah, we didn't do anything. You passed them.
You think you would have shot that deer?
No, because we had talked about it enough. I mean, but early on, you and I both said that might be a shooter.
Oh yeah, early on we thought it might be 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yeah. It's funny how when you see them deer in person, it's just like, oh, that's not.
Yeah. Which I mean, again, it's not. It really isn't anything. I mean, the rack obviously makes a big difference, but like I more would have shot him based on age, not score. Like if he was 5, yes, I would have shot him.
Yeah, me too.
If we said he was 4, which we agreed on, then no, I wouldn't have.
Which
antlers
is funny.
Didn't change.
For guys who prioritize the antlers, I realize how stupid that must sound. Because like, what if he doesn't grow at all? What if he's like 143 inches next year? And then I'd be stoked to shoot him as a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
They'd be like,
yeah, why?
What's
the difference?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just the difference of, the chasing the antlers thing, I get it. Like an Eberhard who, at every 125, he doesn't care if
I just
it's
have
2
to
or
see.
5.
I just have to see. I have to make sure that, like, because what if he blows up to 170?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You won't know unless you don't shoot him as a 4-year-old.
Yeah, I think it's really like the kind of journey of, like I said, it's anybody that's like followed a deer, even if you were trying to kill him. Like I've got plenty of deer that I was trying to kill and just couldn't do it. Following those deer, when that deer dies, whether it's by your hand or someone else's or natural causes, that letdown off of the cliff is a tough thing to go through. And it's just because, there's excitement and energy in the pursuit. When the kill actually happens, it's a very quick kind of dopamine hit, and then it's gone.
Frankly, I would way rather somebody shoot a deer that I'm hunting than a deer that's not reached its peak maturity.
Yeah.
It's such a bummer to see these like 3-year-olds get, and I'm not taking away from like if that's what they want to shoot, great, but just the reality is the deer's not reached its full potential, and it just seems like a shame. That's why I don't shoot them, and I can't expect to pass that expectation on to other people. But it's a shame to see them not reach maturity, whether I kill them or not. I would almost rather somebody shoot one of the deer that I'm hunting that's fully mature or whatever, so I can go over and congratulate them. And so yeah, I'm bummed that it wasn't me to do it, but there it is. It's an amazing
Story's
specimen.
closed.
It's like.
Yeah.
I just want to see him. I just want to see him reach their potential.
Well, I mean, I
don't really care that much who kills him. I want to kill him, but
that's the weird conversation of the guys who like just go out and want to kill a buck every year. And so it's every year the first legal buck that comes by, they kill. And I'm like, don't you want to kill like a bigger one? And they're like, no, I'm happy with just killing a buck every year. I feel like it's just human nature to want to evolve, right? Like if you go out and
is it, or is it human nature to be mediocre?
Unfortunately, probably. Like, I feel like it should be like, if I go out and I run a race and I get 3rd place, right? The next race I run, I want to get 2nd or 1st. And then eventually I want to win it. Like, you always want to do better. Well,
that's what I'm saying. That's you and I. But, like, does the majority of society, are they just like, hey, as long as I finish, I'm just happy to, I'm happy with 3rd place every year.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's for you.
That's kind of disgusting.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hey, you got winners and losers. And I'm not saying like, hey, if you shoot small, I mean, everybody's in different situations.
If you shoot small bucks, you're a loser.
Yeah. Maybe that's the wrong rabbit hole to really go all the way down. But yeah, you would hope to see some aspiration for, in even improvement is not necessarily the right word, but just for growth, like an appreciation for the animal. I think that's what happens. That's what happened naturally to us. Is like it became less about killing deer, and more about seeing these investing in the habitat and seeing them reach a full maturity. I just think they're so cool, and I enjoy building the history with them and stuff. But don't get me wrong. Eventually, the goal is to kill one. You know what I mean? It's not like getting replaced. Oh, I just like to watch them.
Or ratcheting up your challenge. Like if you've only killed bucks with a gun, then eventually you want to go to a bow, and eventually you want to go and like I'm at the point now where I still want to shoot one with my compound, but my goal this year, as it is for every year, probably until I can't do it anymore, is like I want to kill one with trad equipment.
It's intimacy. I just want to have a more intimate experience with the whitetail deer and the landscape that they live on. I want to manipulate the habitats that's there. I want to like kill them at as close a range as possible, like and in my terms. I think that's everything we're saying is like that's what it's built around. I just want to have an intimate experience with these, with these animals.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because I think that's the hardest part is because 90% of deer hunters don't ever think that way, won't ever think that way. It's purely I'm gonna go out this weekend and I'm gonna shoot a buck, and then next weekend I'm watching football, and like I completely forgot it's even hunting season.
And that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I don't think that everybody should take it to that extreme. That's okay.
Yeah, I don't think deer hunting can't sustain.
It can't sustain it. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have people who want to risk it all. And sacrifice everything to like have that level of experience. And yeah, not everybody should do that. That's okay.
Do you think that people that go out there, let's say they're on the like, I just want to kill a buck, and then all of a sudden, boom, like they luck into killing a stud. Do you think that sets a different tone for them, or do they go back to their normal ways?
I think it depends on the person.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, some people might realize what they have there and appreciate it, and that may or may not change their hunting moving forward. I think it really just depends.
It's hard to get into the psyche of it for some people.
I don't know, dude. It's just it's there. Who is it, Primos, or who has the saying that is like it's in our blood or something? For sure, there's the Mossy says it's not a passion, it's an obsession. That's real.
Yeah.
Who says that it's in our blood? I think it's Primos.
It might be.
There's a lot of truth to that. Like, dude, I don't. It takes no effort. In fact, it takes effort not to just for me to be obsessing and over these animals. Maybe that's ADD. Maybe that's OC. But
possible.
But there's a deep rooted passion that I don't necessarily know how to explain. It's just there.
But it's evolved, right? Like I would say,
I've invested in it.
When I was growing up, I mean, I was obsessed with deer hunting, but I just went out and killed deer. Like I killed a pile of does. I killed button bucks. I killed first legal buck I saw. Just whack and stack, basically. And I enjoyed, I loved it, man. There was a point, though, I want to say I was in college, and I killed a good buck, probably 2-year-old, in Pennsylvania with my bow, and then I was like, it was early. It was like first week of the season, and I was like, holy shit, I'm tagged out. Like, now what? Because at that point, I didn't go out of state. I didn't hunt anywhere else. And I ended up finding, I went pheasant hunting, and that was whatever. And then I started, putting on drives for guys, and I tried to find every other opportunity to, just be in the woods, and, that quench or that thirst was never quenched, right? You're just trying to find ways to replace that feeling. And when you're tagged out, you're tagged out. That's the hardest part, I think, for a lot of people to realize, is that as much as I'm excited to go out and kill a deer, there's a point of me that wants to suffer through the entire season and finish on the last day, just because I don't want to be on the sidelines. Which is why we own land in different states and we apply in different states, is because I don't ever want to be sidelined as long as deer hunting is legal in the season.
Yeah. I was just thinking about trying to put my finger on the root of, maybe not where the passion comes from, but just an acknowledgement of where that appreciation for the animal maybe started was. Yep. And who knows, maybe even before this, your parents teach you how to hold a dog, a puppy and stuff, but
pretty bird.
Yeah,
pretty bird.
I can remember as a kid, in my early teens, maybe even earlier than that, my cousins in Nebraska and stuff would go out and they go shooting raccoons at night out of trees and stuff. And I think I'm not going to generalize the state or the culture out there, but dude, they were freaking just hooligans. You know what I mean? There's hey, if we were shooting coons or coyotes and a herd of deer happened to step out, you know what I mean? They're mowing them down, running them down with trucks and stuff. And I remember even at that age feeling grossed out by it. I was I don't like this. And I would contrast that to my uncle, who I felt at that time really appreciated big bucks. And he was so the counter experience with that is we're tiptoeing to the edge of fields and we're glassing in late summer and like we're really being delicate with the area. And like, so in my mind, I get a very black and white experience of like what appealed to me and what didn't. I was like, I want no part of this just killing deer, you know what I mean, like devaluing the animal. And I want to know more about like what is this experience? And I've taken this to times 100 now. So
yeah, that's an interesting thing, because I think for me it was always, there was a point that my dad, we were passing a lot of deer, and we were, you know, there weren't many people bow hunting at that point, but like we were passing a lot of deer, we were watching deer, we knew what deer were out there, that kind of thing. And then, but deer camp, like gun season deer camp, was a whole different ball game. Like, you know, if I got to opening day of gun season without filling my buck tag, then at least for the first couple of years, the first legal deer I saw, I killed. But it was more of like, I did it more in enjoyment of like the whole camp experience than I did like.
Yeah. Well, let's not discount that, dude. I could do that today. Like I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to cheat. Like we just have, you know, we've got so much lined up for us for on this side of things. But if we found ourselves in a situation where like, hey, it's whatever, it's Maine, it's big woods, we're going to go as a group. This is a tradition for gun season. You go and you shoot legal deer.
Yep.
I could get on board with that, and I could have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, and it would be appreciation for the experience more than the specific deer that you're after.
100%.
And I think that's important for people to remember, because that, well, we've talked about it even with Ohio and stuff. It's like trying to think how to say it. My goals or my expectations change based on where I'm deer hunting, right? Like if you and I are in Kansas, I'm going out to kill a mature buck. Sure, I would love to kill a 160 or 170, but if like I'm out there and it's getting towards the end and like a 5 or 6 year old 130-inch 8-point, I'll kill that deer.
Well, dude, look at North Dakota is a great example of like that was a first for you and I. You know, I mean, we were established bow hunters, but our very first time mule deer hunting.
Yes,
we went out with, I think, aspirations of killing 3 or 4-year-old mule deer at the time. This was 5-6 years ago, and or of a certain antler class. I don't know. Maybe we said 140 is what what we're after.
Yeah, we had no. I don't think we knew, but yes, we were thinking that.
Yeah. And just from what little we could take in, you know, I watched every North Dakota mule deer bow hunt that we could online, and like I kind of got a grasp of what was there, what was reasonable, and we ended up killing probably a 2 and 3 year old.
Yes.
You know, 2 bucks, and I wouldn't have changed anything about that. I think as that was happening, we were making decisions based on just the trip and the experience. Like it was like we were just having so much fun, and we. Yeah,
and the crazy thing is we chased probably 2 5-year-olds.
Deer than that, yeah.
But it wasn't like, oh, we're only going to hold out for those near. Now it was like it was just experience and opportunity.
We were just soaking it in. We're just like, I can't believe the deer that we're getting into here. I can't believe like this terrain is just so it's like so cool, and the method of like stalking them, like creeping over the ditches and stuff. I'm like, this is just insane. Awesome. This is so much fun.
Yeah, we left there. We left there on such an ultimate high, which, you know, going back to like we didn't draw again. There's the disappointment, is because like we experience what that could be. Now, obviously, if we come back, those expectations are going to set the bar higher.
Yeah.
But like that entire environment and experience of like at the campfire and cooking tenderloins that we just cut out of a mule deer right up over that hill on the fire and stuff, and game plan.
We did it. Yeah, we got our toe wet. We
awesome.
You know, we killed mule deer with our bows. It was a successful trip, and we're like, okay. And I don't remember ever feeling a hint of regret about the animals that we shot there.
No, because it was all experience driven.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that is a huge part of it for people. Like, it's just trying to make sure that
that has to happen.
You don't get too caught up in what you think you want, or even like if you're hunting one area and you're like, man, my goal is to kill a mature 150+ inch deer. Don't just carry that everywhere you go, because you're going to miss out on experiences that are way more valuable than just killing a 150-inch deer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just you know, you want to hunt based off of what's there. So, I mean, you want to try to set a realistic goal is basically the point.
Yeah. Like, I mean, my goal in Pennsylvania will be to kill a mature public land buck.
Yeah.
I don't really care what he scores.
Yeah.
Like I'll be on public land on state forest ground trying to find a mature buck. If I kill a buck somewhere else, then I'll try to kill one with a trad.
Yeah.
And, you know, even when I was walking out last year, there were several times, not that I had like super close encounters, but, you know, I was in the wheelhouse and I'm walking out on state forest ground with a recurve and I'm like, what the hell am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like the odds of me like actually killing a deer with this thing on here, the odds of me killing one with a compound are low, you know, because I'm looking for a 5-year-old buck. And so, but it, like, I didn't really care. I was just in the experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's like just being out here with a recurve and the chance of like maybe getting one in the wheelhouse was cool as shit.
Yeah.
And so it didn't really affect me to think anything differently, you know, on I need to have my compound and I need to have a certain, you know, just to get the job done, basically. I knew that the job chances of being completed were super low the moment I take a recurve out. But I'm just in it for the experience. Like you know, part of that is kind of what we even talked about before. It's like when you, especially if you're hunting multiple states, if you kill a buck and you get that monkey off the back early and kind of like the goal has been checked, like the rest of the season can be a complete 180 of what you had planned just because you're just out there just living it and enjoying it. You did what you came out to do. You killed one. You know, most people are not driven to say like, I need to kill 7 bucks this year.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Lone Wolf Custom Gear.
Man, Jared, we are tree stand fanatics, and I think the one thing that we have learned over all these years is to kill big bucks, we got to be mobile. We've been hunting out of Lone Wolves for many years, the original Lone Wolf, and then obviously with the custom gear stuff, we're using the 0.5 and the 0.75. Yeah. And the one thing that we talked about is like, what if there were no cables? Here we are.
I really just don't know how you can beat it, frankly. But, you know, a lot of that came, too, from a relationship that we've built with the DeQuistos. We've had both Cody and Andre on the podcast a few times. The passion for hunting, the outlook on the sport and stuff, I think is eye to eye with how we look at it. Everything that has gone into building this brand and to building these tree stands is something that we want to be a part of.
This is the 40th anniversary of these guys creating tree stands that have been critical to how we hunt whitetail deer today. If you look over the past, you'll see Andre's designs being implemented across so many stands over the years. Such a cool thing, but really has changed the way that we all hunt whitetail deer from above now.
Right now, you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, to get 7% off anything on the entire website. Be the Lone Wolf.
I think even last year was a really good example. You know, I think October 4th I killed, November 5th you killed in Iowa, and November 6th I killed in Iowa. We went to Illinois, and even when we came home, and I was just not that mad at him. Like I had a 6-year-old to hunt in Kentucky, and I was just like, or a 5-year-old, and I was like,
I know.
Yeah. Like I would I have killed him had the opportunity come up? Absolutely. But I definitely backed off and kind of was like, I'm good if he makes it the next year. Mm-hmm. And if he didn't make it the next year, if somebody else killed him, yeah, sucks. But like, yeah, I was okay with it. Like there's a part where like my cup overfloweth basically, where I'm like, I don't need
cup overfloweth,
right? I don't need to go out there and just stack 7 mature bucks in a season.
No, honestly, I think there's a point where it's just like, and maybe we hit ours last year where I was like, I'm good. Yeah. That's enough. You know what I mean? Like, it's enough bloodshed.
Like there's a diminishing return or something maybe?
Yeah, probably in a way. It is weird to consider. I've never really pondered that, but
I don't know if there's many seasons I've ever been in that situation where I'm like, I hit a point where in the season I'm like, I'm good.
Did I kill 3 last year? I killed 2. Or 2 years. Was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
I killed 2 in Illinois and 1 in Ohio.
In Ohio?
Did I kill a booner in Ohio that year?
Yeah.
No.
No, you killed the 9. The pond dam one that you had to use the dog with.
That was that year?
Yep.
And then I shot the 8 in Illinois and
floppy.
And floppy?
Yep.
That was all the same year?
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
I can't remember, honestly.
Yeah, you killed 3 bucks that year. I know that.
There was 3 bucks that year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we killed 3 on the farm, on the Illinois farm.
That's
I killed 1.
That's right.
You killed those.
Yeah.
We didn't kill anything in Kansas that year.
And to me, I mean, that's about it. Because, like, I just don't think it's possible to, like, have that whole lead-up experience. Like, just the odds of it happening more than 3. We talked about how hard it is to make it happen every year. Mm-hmm. To have it happen 2 or 3 times in 1 year, it's just kind of like, that to me seems like, about a maximum that's like
I think that's healthy though,
possible.
Right? Like I want to be, if there's a point to the season, and obviously like I have kids and dad and everything else like that I can shift focus to, which is great. But I want to get to a point where like I'm very satisfied. Like all the work I did, I accomplished my goals. And at that point, I'm more excited to see those deer potentially make it another year than I would be if I killed them that year.
Yeah.
Right. That's where the balance is. It's like I'm more excited if they make it through to the next year than I would be if I shot them after having the experiences I already had in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if my kids or my dad or my wife or whoever shoots them, then I'm stoked. But for me personally, like I think that's why, even when we left Illinois or Iowa, our entire Illinois trip after Iowa, I carried the recurve because it was like, I'd be super ecstatic to kill that 11 or Crazy Horse or whoever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I needed it to be something a step up, really just so I appreciated the experience, which sounds like selfish or sounds like almost like a little bit too much ego. But it's like I appreciate those experiences so much that I don't want to just have it to have it. I want to make sure that I truly enjoy every one of them.
Yeah. Excuse me. See, I in hindsight, I would have been ecstatic with to kill either Crazy Horse or the 11 off the Illinois farm after that Iowa buck, and probably just because the Iowa was lacking a bit in the history
it was
sense.
Just flash in the pan.
Even of the property. It was like my first time on the property, first time in Iowa. It was an amazing experience, and it was my biggest buck to date. But I still was really hungry for like.
Yeah, but you definitely had some consideration in it because when you went back, you hunted with your bow during gun season. And had you had a gun, you would have killed the 11th.
Oh yeah, I mean, I wasn't gonna change my tactic.
So, but that's what I'm saying is like you didn't feel the need to be like, oh, it's gun season, I'm taking the gun.
No.
So I mean, there was a bit of satisfaction. Had you not,
who knows? Yeah.
Had you not killed the Iowa buck, maybe. Probably, honestly.
Maybe. I had the gun, so maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, not in the tree with me, but in the truck.
Yeah.
I brought it just in case.
So I think that there was probably some balance
the gun
there.
to me, like going to that level is like if I feel that it's like an emergency. If I think that if I don't like if I don't think or like if I think that I won't get if I don't kill the deer.
Yeah.
If I think that if I don't kill the deer,
somebody else will.
It will get killed.
Yeah.
Eminently.
Yeah.
Then I don't know. I haven't necessarily been, but I would. That would drive me to that decision. I'd be like, he needs to be like he's running towards the fence line. I need to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't killed. Well, the only buck I killed on the cabin property, the mountain property in Kentucky, I killed with a gun, and that was in 2019. So it's the last year. That's the last buck I've killed with a gun.
Yeah.
But it's also because like even like when you killed Floppy, my dad hunted, I didn't hunt because I was like he would appreciate killing a buck with a gun more than I would, so I can enjoy that excitement from him.
Yeah.
Same with the kids. Like if it's gun season in Kentucky, I don't ever have a gun.
Yeah.
The kids are there because I know that if they kill it, I will have more excitement because they killed it than if I shot it with a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And that's nothing against gun hunting. Like, I mean, I've killed a pile of bucks, a pile of deer. That's all I did.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, hey, it's gun season. You hunted with a gun. But we're fortunate enough to be at this position where, like, I just love bow hunting. To your point, I love that intimacy of, like, being close and, like, in their wheelhouse, in the bedroom, basically. And even in gun season, is it harder? Yeah. But I wouldn't trade that because that's what gets me fired up.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, dude, I'm trying to think. I could have shot. I don't know. That 11 was kind of, I would have killed him the next day. So 1, 2, I could have killed all 3 of our mature bucks with a gun last year.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, only 2 of those encounters were during gun season.
Yeah. Crazy Horse was not.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah, and so I think,
but you want it that way. Like I'm like, yes, I would have liked to have killed him, but am I happy that I you know, yeah, I want to kill them on my terms. So
well, and that's where like the meat thing even comes in. Like if I want meat, I go and shoot does, and I did. I shot several does, and so did the kids. So like the freezer's still full. I just don't. Yeah, and I think it honestly, it's. I hope people listening to this who haven't killed a lot of bucks or haven't killed any big bucks, like, dude, go shoot them with a gun. Like, kill as many as you can. You know, there's a progression level that every hunter, I think,
or don't. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I'm telling you, Floppy's the first buck that I shot with a gun.
No, you shot one before that in Ohio. It was a while ago. I think you did.
No.
I thought you said you did.
I shot a doe. The very first deer I ever shot was a doe with my dad's 30-30.
Yeah. You didn't kill one in gun season in Ohio? Not like recently. Would have been like when you were a teenager or something.
Nope.
I thought you showed me a picture of them. You just killed 3-year-olds with your bow?
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, first deer I can count on one hand the number of deer I've shot.
It's a dangerous evolution.
I never had any interest.
Yeah.
I've shot other things with guns. I've shot plenty of guns. I'm not.
Yeah. No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying from a deer like evolution standpoint.
Yeah.
Maybe that was Uncle Dale.
It was. I got just indoctrinated with archery early on, and I became competent fairly, and I started killing deer with my bow. So I was like, why would I make it easier from here?
I think that's a great point. I mean, that probably was a big part of it, was your ability to kill deer early with a bow versus like, you know, I think, well, I was in college when I killed my first buck with a bow. I was 21 years old, I think. So
I was older too. I was, well, not that old, but I was probably 16, 17.
Yeah. So I think I was 21. So I say that because I had many archery seasons that I hunted hard. And
do you remember that, dude? Just the grind. It's like,
and then ended up in gun season.
I remember the years just passing by. I started when I'm 12. I'm like, how am I 16 years old and I haven't shot a buck with my bow yet?
Yeah. I mean, I killed does and stuff, but like I would come out of archery season. And again, you have to think about what states you're hunting, right? Like in Pennsylvania, archery season ended the second weekend in November. Then there was nothing. Then gun season came in right after Thanksgiving. Then there was nothing until after Christmas. And by that time, you were screwed. Like, you weren't killing. Like, it was a tough time to kill a buck. So when archery season ended, you look forward to the opening day of gun season because you're like, if I'm going to kill a buck this year, it's in the 2 weeks of gun season. Mm-hmm. So there were, 9 archery seasons that I either missed or wounded or didn't have any shots, and I would end up in a gun season. And I think I only killed, I don't know, 3 or 4 bucks maybe through those 9 years of gun season. And then I killed that one in bow season when I was in college. And then there was a couple more years. Then I killed another. Like, it wasn't like I was indoctrined into like I had successful archery. Had I done that, then yeah, maybe I wouldn't have been as aggressive in gun season and killing deer, because I was like, man, I love bow season and I've been successful at it. Mm-hmm. I just failed miserably for 9 years. So,
well, see, to contrast that, in Ohio, like the bow season goes all the way through,
right?
And so there was never a point where I was like, oh, I can only hunt with a gun right now.
Yeah,
it's just the bow season's wide open, and we didn't always have that, but I want to say it was. I mean, Mom and Dad bought the farm 8 or 9 years ago, so it's been over that, which it's a long time, but not long. Way back, So I hunted.
But I mean, you hunted it as a teenager. When
we started
your grandma and grandpa.
But it was tough because a majority of it was leased. Like anything that was worth leasing was leased. It just my parents didn't own it, and it was leased through base camp leasing. And so Dad and I would just hunt like little pasture corners, like little pockets here and there.
Yep. Interesting.
Didn't have much success doing it either.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing. I mean, it is definitely within each hunter. They kind of have their own demons and battles that they face, right? Of like what satisfies your thirst for it. But I think a big part of it is probably the eras that you're brought up. Like even our 9-year difference, like, dude, when I grew up, there weren't many bow hunters, and like, gun season was a big deal, and it was buck only for the majority of me growing up as a kid. with 3 days of doe season at the end. And so it was like, you didn't kill one in archery season. My goal was to kill the first legal buck I saw during gun season for many years in a row.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I started, it really antler point restrictions forced us to pass deer.
Right.
And then at that part, maybe 3 or 4 years after that, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Like I've seen a lot of really good bucks. Like I could pass these legal deer to try to, and so eventually that evolution kind of came in play, but it wasn't without having success of just killing legal deer previous to that, as a benchmark. And that probably is the hardest thing for some of these new hunters coming in. Like, dude, I couldn't imagine like these new hunters coming in and like, all they see on social media is guys talking about age and 130s and 150s. And they're like, they've never even killed a deer yet, and it's like, inevitably there's a feeling like back then that we had of support. Like, dude, I could imagine the first buck I killed, I was 16 years old. I killed a 7 or 8 inch spike. This was before antler restrictions. And I remember hanging that up at camp and like guys high-fiving, and we were all taking pictures with it because I think it was maybe the only buck killed that year on opening day. And it was like a giant celebration of that thing. You don't have that right now. Like there's not many people, if you went out and killed a legal 6-point in Pennsylvania basket rack, that are like celebrating it, especially if you're an adult. Like maybe as a kid, like first bucks as a kid get celebrated. But if you're a 20-year-old adult,
grown-ass man shooting his little forkhorn,
there's not many people that are like around you celebrating, right? This is a whole different hunting culture that we're in at this point, which is hard for people because it's like,
Well, it's also just the age dynamic too. I mean, it's like I'm gonna say a majority of hunters, I'm guessing, I don't have stats to back this up, probably got into it early on. Like they came, you would think so. 20 years old.
There's a lot more people that we're talking to that didn't grow up in hunting families, which is surprising to me. Like some of the ones that, I think even like Greg Pohl, like Greg was, older, like at least late teens, if not into his 20s, before he was, somebody said, hey, here's a bow, like you should go hunt. And he was like, okay.
Some Winky that way too. Didn't he get into it?
I think
late?
So. Yeah. And there's a couple other ones that we've talked to that were super surprising in that, like, when you talk to him, you'd think, I think Waddell was one who like was up, like he was a squirrel hunter or something. Like, he didn't even hunt deer or something until he was later in life. He's like, there weren't even like deer in the county that we were in, so those are the kind of things that
Mick just said. He just talked to his buddy that didn't draw it with 2 points
in Kansas.
Yeah. I'd imagine southeast probably.
Shit's getting real, guys. Shit's getting real.
That's nuts. That's
wow.
nuts. I'm trying to imagine though, what best case scenario would be like, somebody let's say our age, either my age or your age, that is interested in getting into it. Like it's probably coming from
like friends or in-laws is a big one. Like I know a lot of people who marry into a hunting family.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a big introduction. In fact, that's
which is great. That's
my
awesome.
dad my dad's grandpap, he'd tell the story better. My dad's grandpap definitely took him hunting and fishing when he was younger, but it was like, it wasn't like hardcore, like it wasn't all the time. But when my dad married my mom, that side of the family was all hunters, and so he kind of joined the deer camp and really got into it. So
for the family pheasant hunt, I'm good. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. I'm good, babe.
So yeah, they're probably like, hey, put a drive on through there. So I mean, that was, he was in hunting and had done some stuff, but like not seriously until probably in his 20s when he, married into the family.
Yep.
So I think that's a big one that you hear is like, I didn't grow up in a hunting background, but I met my future wife or whatever, and her family were big hunters and they had a farm or whatever. And like, that was the launch point. So that would be a case for like, 20s or 30s getting into it later in life.
Well, and so maybe ours was a little different. I'm trying to recall Corey's introduction. He started hunting with me fairly early on, and we did it wrong probably because we just weren't at a point where we were good at mentoring yet. I'm way younger than Corey.
Yeah.
And my dad wasn't, I don't think, how would you say, like even today, he's not
Mm-hmm.
He's just more of a generalist. He's as much of a fisherman as he is, so we just kind of like threw him in there, hey, there's a stand down in there. Like, and today I'm like, I would never do that. Like,
that's tough.
But I'm trying to recall, and he had some failures early, lots. I mean, just like I did when I was 12, he was just having the same ones when he was 25.
25, yeah.
Which was can't find the stand in the dark, climbing up, climbed up in some wooden piece of crap that probably, wasn't even the right stand, and like making sure you're on the right property lines, and like hearing the deer snorting in the dark, you're like, oh, I'm
surrounded.
What's going on here, and making, taking shots, and I mean, dude, there's so much, like such a steep learning curve there that to do it in hindsight, and we kind of reeled it back in. And at some point, I was like, I wouldn't let Corey go alone. Like, I'm going to hunt with him. And until now, we've got him to a point where he is fairly accomplished, and he shot a few, and so he knows what to do. But that's what you would want, is you would want a friend, like, or somebody that you enjoy hunting with, spending time with, to take you out and like show you the ropes, you know what I mean? Kind of talk you through everything, and frankly, hopefully get a few under your belt, to shoot a few. That's really what it takes.
Yeah, and I mean, boy, those.
I wish that would have happened with me. That would have expedited my learning curve a lot.
Those screw ups early though were so valuable in hindsight for lessons for us to learn, and it reflect back on like how not to do things, whether it was shot placement, whether it was tracking, whether it was hanging a stand, or whatever, and anything.
Yeah.
That I feel like the hunting culture right now is so unfavorable to mistakes. Like, even if you think of like bad shots or whatever, like, dude, my dad made bad shots. Everybody made bad shots. Like, whether you missed them or you gut shot them or you wounded them, like, dude, there were wounded deer all over the place. And like, yeah, nobody liked it. Like, I hated if I shot a deer and like couldn't find it, but that was part of life growing up. And like, you realize where you messed up, and, you moved on. Whereas today it's like, you find a dead deer, see an arrow sticking out of it or whatever. Like, and, there's, including myself, there's a major distaste for it. And it's also like we probably should do a better job at slowing down and being like, I don't know, like maybe that was a 12-year-old kid flinging his first arrow or whatever. And it's like, dude, I put plenty of them in the paunch and in the legs or whatever. Like, it's just part of it.
Well, yes and no. In that, as time goes on, you want to be sensitive and open-minded to the fact that could be the case, and we need to have grace within our community, I think, and because that learning curve has to happen for everybody, and we did it. Unfortunately, it seems like more often than not, it's some 45-year-old dude with a crossbow that's flinging sticks at every 3-year-old that he has for the past 10 years, and that's just the reality. We just see that more and more, and so it's calloused us. It makes you quicker to frustration or like annoyance with that situation, just because you see the reality of what it is. And that ties into the whole technology, and the weaponization,
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the deer that I was wounding at 12 years old with a Indian Timberland stalker bow that was at 45 pounds, and I was shooting fingers on a compound. There
was nothing, frankly, to be mad at back then. It was like, hey, there's like, it's like you got your stick and your string. It's like, dude, if you can kill a deer with your bow, it's impressive, and so, mistakes are expected. But
technology's evolved. You're saying technology's evolved to the point where like mistakes can happen, but they should be minimal considering the technology we're using.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for verbalizing that for me. That is the way to say it.
Yeah, and I agree. From from like even Harlan has, I'm trying to think with the kids. Harlan has wounded one buck. And it was early in his career on a crossbow hunt. And frankly, it was the only time that I thought he may be too young to do this stuff.
Let's throw me 2 more of those waters real quick. Sorry, I may have to pee again at some point, but gotta stay hydrated.
Hydration. It might have been the only time frame that I was like, man, he may be too young to do this stuff. And we were up at.
You're like, let me change your diaper. We'll take this shot.
Yeah, we were up on the mountain. I don't know. He was probably 5. He was either 5 or 6, something like that, and or maybe he was 7, 6 or 7, and we're watching this doe come out, and I'm like, we're like getting ready to like shoot this doe, and I look out of the corner, and Colty was actually filming us. And I see this like, whatever, 1 or 2 year old 8-point come up out into the clover. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, hey, right here, buck. Deer does exactly what I wanted to do, like 20 yards broadside. And I remember vividly being like, hey, right behind the leg is what I said. Put it right behind the leg. And he shot, and it like it didn't even like do much, but it like grazed his ass. And I'm like, what happened? Did you hit something? What, and like Colton and I were like trying to process, like, what did his arrow deflect off of? Like the deer was fine, like didn't do anything to him. And I asked, like, eventually I had a conversation with Harlan about it. I was like, hey, what happened? And he was like, he literally thought he could shoot behind either leg, front or back. And it was like, because it's such human nature to us. I said leg, whether maybe I should have said arm or shoulder or like, I don't know. Like he's 6 years old. Yeah. And I felt a huge mistake in my own part there.
I mean, had you guys, like, did you ever go to him like, hey, we want to put it right behind the front shoulder? I'm sure you did.
Maybe. I mean, we definitely shot a deer target.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe that was my fault of assumption of like, we've been shooting this target and here's the bullseye, that he visualized that on the real deer.
Maybe.
Maybe it was, buck fever and like, here it is. It's all happening
Probably
at once.
Some of that too.
And, but I mean, I took a lot of fault for that, and he was fine. Like I
mean, dude, imagine yourself at 5.
I think he was 6 at the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, either way, like the excitement of all that happening, it's so easy to like, especially with the pressure of your dad over your shoulder.
Well, not to mention, like, I know he
may not have even aimed. He might not even look through the scope.
I know he knew we were filming. We were filming it too.
I know.
We filmed the hunt.
Yeah.
And so, like, there was a lot of things I was able to take fault with on that. And, like, since then, like, I mean, the kid's a dead eye, but, like, it really was the moment of, like, he heard me say, like, shoot it behind the leg, and, like, he thought it was either leg.
I'm sure he'll be able to explain it to you someday.
Yeah.
He'll be like, yeah, I remember that happened, and here's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and fortunately, like, it literally, like, just white hair grazed the back, like hamstring type thing, and, like, the deer was fine. In fact, it, like, ran off and, like, stared there and looked at us. But, like, it was a good point of, like, how easy it could happen, right? Especially when we're talking about young hunters, and again, I'm because of that. Like I mean, dude, 5 years, 6, even 6 years old. Well, I can't even remember 6 years old. That's what I'm getting at. Is like I'm dramatically in favor of mentor programs. I think it's great to get kids out hunting and young in that side, but a case in point, and I take fault for it. Like there is a point where kids are ready or not ready. And there also was a real thing about the tangibility of like, you're not allowed to do this until you're 12. Like, and I think we talked about it with Lauer, like that anticipation of like, you just can't, you're not allowed. Like somebody telling me I can't do it, like just built in you for year and year and year. And then when you hit 12, dude, it was like an explosion. Like you were released from these chains.
I can literally remember just the excitement.
Agree.
Just,
absolutely.
Yeah, I remember the anticipation. Even the year or two before, I was like, "This is the year." I was like, and then your dad took you to the bow shop the summer before, and you got a new bow, and you're like, "This is like man's, but it's
happening.
This is gonna grow with you, And you're like, "Hey, we bought our first gorilla tree stand, and we're like, we'll go hang our tree stand." And going through all those steps, the first year leading up to it, I was like, it was maybe the most exciting like anticipation moment of my life.
And as an 11 or 12-year-old, like you're competent enough to understand like the happenings that are around, and you've seen it. Like you've seen it at like I think for us, we were allowed to go to deer camp when we were 9. So that was the first year we were allowed to be at camp. For 10, 11, and then 12 we hunted. And so, like, dude, I remember even at 9, like, just being in deer camp and watching them go out in the morning and sitting with my dad, and I'm like, holy shit, like, all of this is happening right now. In 3 years, I can do this. And I know a lot of people say, well, like we couldn't do that in today's society because there's so many distractions and there's so many sports and kids are doing this. Maybe it's one of those things I don't know if you can ever put back in the box, but I also think that there is a risk, especially if you don't do it right with kids at 5 and 6 and 7 years old, that you may lose them before you get to 12 because they're just like, yeah, I killed some deer when I was 5 or 6 and like it was pretty easy. Like maybe I do it, but like, you know, they didn't have a chance to fathom what anticipation was. Yeah. The moment they were ready, they were put into it. And I'm guilty of it. I did it, right? But
you just need time for that curiosity to like mature. Like you just have to. I remember building forts in the woods as a kid at 5 or 6 and seeing my neighbor's tree stands out there. I'm like, what is this?
I was building tree stands in the trees. Like I didn't
even know what they were.
I just built them.
I've told it before, but I climbed up in the thing because we're adventuring and I'm like, hey, you dare me to climb up in that thing? And I climbed up in it, and it was one of those old, I can't remember who made them, but it was like a metal platform, and they had the cloth fold-out bar. So I climbed up it, and I'm like, holy crap. And I sat down on the metal platform.
Like pulled it over
your head. I was like, boy, it's a small roof. Like, I was like, if it rains, you know, we're in trouble. I don't quite understand how that works, you know. But so, you know, just little things like that to build the curiosity on top of like seeing the dads go out, on top of getting to bird dog, you know, during duck and dove hunts and stuff like that. You see it all. Mm-hmm. And I think it takes time for that curiosity to mature to eventually turn into like to interest, to wanting to go. And then you can't until eventually, you know, here we go.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, like I would be interested just because the statistics would tell. I'd be interested to see what youth participation looked like prior to like mentor seasons and stuff versus what it looks like now, and in particular retention. Because my guess is that a lot of people who came in our generation had to wait, started hunting at 12, so are now in their 30s or 40s, barring, you know, access definitely affected them. I'd say most of them are still hunters today. Versus all kids who have been getting into it at 5, 6, 7 years old because of the mentor program. How many of them are still hunting today at 17, 18, 19, 20 even?
Yeah, it would be interesting to know, but it would be tough to isolate just because the environment has changed so much.
Yeah, with access and the way hunting is. Yeah, I would agree with that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, obviously, my cat's out of the bag. Like, in retrospect, I can't do anything. I mean, Carter had a couple failing seasons before he killed his first deer, and you know he hunts, but just not as much right now.
How old is Carter?
13.
Yeah, he's got plenty of time.
Oh yeah,
you know, like I didn't get to actually bow hunt until I was 12 years old, and it wasn't like I remember I was excited, but like I still had stuff going on. Like I had school I was excited about. I had like. I was still wrestling and doing like all these sports and stuff. And like, there was definitely years, like through, what grade are you in 12th grade? Or,
he's in 7th.
Yeah. So
6th, 7th.
Middle school into early, you know, I had the dirt bike accident when I was 15, and that kind of put the kibosh on sports.
Yep. So that'd been high school.
Cause you know, I was spending a lot of time, way more time than I was hunting, you know, racing dirt bikes and doing sports and being at school and doing all that. So then when that accident happened, I was like, put the kibosh on sports and kind of flipped a switch in me for like, I had to channel aggression and energy at something. So it was lifting weights was a big part of it. And also I still had like the outdoors.
Yeah.
And so, and that, you don't have to have like a light switch moment like that for everybody, but something generally brings you back and you start, you know, so I didn't really start getting serious about bow hunting again until like maybe my senior year of high school.
Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, it's yeah, and I'm not saying, because he still does. He definitely, like, he loves the deer camp experience. Like, he was talking to my dad when we were out of town here. He's like, dude, I can't wait till Ohio deer camp again. Because it's just a fun couple days of just the guys doing guy shit, you know? But, and so, like, and like, I don't worry about my kids from a hunting side. Like, I especially don't worry about Harlan. Like, that dude, I can't keep him out of the woods, right? But
who knows, dude? He might lose interest.
Very possible.
You know what I mean? It's just like kids, things come up. It's just Harlan's gonna be a poon hound. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, I know. He will.
You know what I mean? He'll just get distracted and start chasing girls. He may not want to hunt for a couple of years.
Yeah, and it's a weird it's weird because like I don't know, like I'm glad I got them into it early because we had the mentor, but I also am like, man, I know how hooked I got as a like, you know, through high school, and like that's all I did is like I chased girls and I hunt and fished, like, and I played sports. That was it. That was my life as a 13-year-old to 25-year-old. Like that was all it was.
How old are you now?
Yeah. 41. Yeah, that's all I did. So it's it's a weird thing to think about on that side, and I guess I've just have had enough conversations with other parents to say the same thing. It's like I don't think it's a bad thing, but it's definitely something to be careful for of getting them involved. In particular, getting them successfully involved, right? Because like even when we started hunting at 12 and 13, we were just talking about like, dude, we failed a lot. Like I mean, I killed does and button bucks and stuff like that, but we failed a lot from a hunting standpoint.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Mountain Tough.
Man, as everybody knows, physical fitness is super important to both you and I, Jared. And so whether it's training for the Badlands so that we can pack out a muley or our weekly whitetail hunts, the thing that we don't want is to be a big piece of shit in the woods this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, dude, even just in our daily lives, whether we're planting food plots, running our businesses, spending time with our family, we just want to feel good. And that all starts with physical fitness.
Yep. So this year we're partnering with the Mountain Tough app, cool new app that you can go in. You can do rucking, you can do weighted vests, you can do minimal gear. But basically the app has both coached and self-guided courses, anything and everything you need to be mentally and physically tough for this hunting season.
And so right now you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, on the Mountain Tough website. That's mtntough.com. It does have to be the website. It can't be either of the app stores to get that discount applied. You get a free 2-week trial anyway, so anybody can go on and use that. But while you're signing up, use that code HUNTR. You'll get an additional free month after that trial period to use the app. That's a total of 6 weeks. That's a huge savings.
So this season, get Mountain Tough.
Dude, I'm trying to remember when the concept of like a big buck even came into my mind. Because leading up to it, it definitely, like when I was in the trapping mindset, it was more just like the outdoors. Like I was kind of hooked on just like reading the topography and like the trapping was really fun. But then when we started getting into hunting, it was just like maybe the idea, like I can remember like a few nights before the season, we went out and like we're gonna spotlight or whatever. It wasn't even dark yet, but right before dark, we saw like a racked buck. And at the time, Dad seemed to think he was big.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe it was like 120-inch, 3-year-old, 125. You know, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it was bigger. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, okay, nice. There's bucks in the area. You know, and we're like, we're gonna see some bucks. And I don't know. I don't recall having like it wasn't like a certain size I was looking for.
Yeah.
Was the antler restriction in place when it was started?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I knew it had to be like an 8-point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were in a 4-point to a side area at that time.
I was like, okay, he's got to be an 8-point. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, it's crazy. I talking about like seeing those bucks. Like there's several vividly I remember. Like I was probably in high school and riding in the back of the truck. We were driving into the spots opening morning of gun season.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever, Dad and my uncle and stuff were in the car, and like me and the cousins were in the back, you know, and whatever, an hour before dark driving in. And I remember like getting closer to our spots and like, I don't know how big. I just remember like, holy shit, like giant buck comes like busting across the road. And we were like pounded on the roof. Like, oh my God, did you guys see that? Like in hindsight, I don't know, like maybe a 2 or 3-year-old, like, you know.
Yeah.
But at the time it was like, plus like all the anticipation for opening day of gun season was just like pumping through you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember like going into my stand and thinking like, could he like maybe you think? And it's like,
well, just the excitement of just something inside 20, 30 yards in the dark. It's just a wild concept, you know. It's just not something you experience every day, like in your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
So to go out and like in the dark and wake up early and climb into a tree and hear things walking through the woods, it's just as a kid, you can imagine. I'm like, it's just off the charts. Like you're every
sensory overload.
Yeah, everything's firing, and then I mean, scale that up to like what an encounter with a mature buck. Now that we know what they are, and I mean, it's just like, dude, there's just nothing like it.
There's several of those, man, that I remember just like I stumbled into them. I hunted a place by my parents' house that was, and now it's like, it would be a banging farm actually, but it's just all brushy and overgrown. And I remember going, and it was at my church. I was hunting by my church. I pumped up in my whatever, I had a Summit Climber or something. And I remember just sitting over a scrape early morning. It's like a mowed field. Like, I don't even know what the hell I was hunting, but there was a scrape there. And like right first thing in the morning, like this buck comes down and just crushes this scrape. And it was a good buck, like not, and I was set up wrong. I couldn't get a shot at it. So I like climbed down and I like go across the field and I'm like on the other side of the road now, walking through this brush field. I don't even know what the hell I'm doing. I'm just walking through. And like this buck stands up because he was bedded down with the doe and like comes out like, and it was a big one. I was like, holy shit, like that's big. I remember looking up on the hill and there's another big buck. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like there's just bucks running everywhere chasing does. Like, do I just pump up somewhere? And like, like I was 16 years old. There was no learning. Like you just did it and you failed and you figured out why you failed or why it worked or whatever happened. And it was like, yeah, that
was the beauty, I think, of those adolescent years is like you're gonna do everything wrong probably, and you're gonna see all that. You're not gonna probably kill one doing that. You might
but I mean, dude, my veins were blowing up with it because I'm just seeing like they're all within reach, right? But yeah, I just wonder now looking back because obviously I'm 41 now. Like, so what's a 16-year-old kid like? How are they hunting now? Like, are they doing that? Is it like overanalyzed because of all the resources that they have? Is it a mixed bag?
There's probably a lot more input, I would say. I bet they're watching a lot of
YouTube,
Seek One, Hunting Public. Maybe they're listening to some podcast. Maybe they're listening to our podcast.
Yeah.
And they're probably trying to put the pieces together on top of like what their buddies, or their uncle that hunts type of a thing. They're probably just trying to figure it out.
Interesting.
But there's definitely a lot more inputs. Like, I don't remember when we were that age.
No, dude, I got
consuming anything. There was nothing on TV that I was like, I'm going to take and apply that. I did take a standard from it. I remember in college, I watched Bill Winke.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was pretty early on.
Yeah.
I remember when I found Midwest Whitetail, I stayed in my room for 3 days and just binged it like every season up until that point. And I definitely took away from that a 4-year-old standard. I was like, hey, I want to shoot 4-year-olds now. I
remember reading like Deer and Deer Hunting magazine, and I watched TNN Outdoors on Saturday night or whatever, and it was like Realtree, Primos, Mossy Oak, Hunt in the Country, and Buckmasters. Like that was the shows, and I don't think I ever took, like I watched them more as like excitement and entertainment than I did like taking learning experiences from it. In fact, I remember recording those on like a VHS, and like at deer camp later in the year, we would like just sit there and play them during deer camp. And it was just because it was like hunting.
Funny enough, I mean, dude, I maybe I'm wrong about maybe it's just me, but I feel like a majority of hunting content is consumed for entertainment. I would say content in general. You know what I mean? We want to be entertained. Dude, I watch stuff today like. With all the respect, and I still watch Bill. You know, I still watch, and I watch it knowing. I watch and like half the stuff he says, I'm like, that's not right. But I still love watching it and hearing him say it. Like, even if I'm not trying to take anything, maybe I'll get a nugget educationally, here and there.
Yeah.
But, and not to pick on Bill. I mean, that's anybody. I'll be like, that's not right. But, but I still enjoy it. I'm still entertained by it.
Do you think it's like actually not right or just not right in your situation?
Both. Yeah. It's, and it could be a style thing. It could be like hey, I'm going to set it up this way. I'm like, I don't think that'll work. But
well, we've had those conversations a lot, and it's because of where we come from. Like when we bring our like Eastern Ohio, Western Pennsylvania hunting style to the Midwest, people think we're way too aggressive. And I'm like, I wouldn't hunt it any other way. And they're like, well, I'd hunt it like this. And I'm like, it's going to take you a month to kill that deer.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's fun that you and I disagree on a lot.
Yeah.
Because if I just was like, I think we should do it this way, and you're like, I 100% agree, it would be boring.
Yeah. Like, okay. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Well, even we talked about the I don't know if I think it was the farm companion. We talked about our corn cove.
Yeah.
We stood there for 35 minutes just like staring at trees. Right?
Yeah, and each of us had picked 3 different trees that the other one disagreed with, and then we
eventually were like, no, it's that one.
We landed
right?
on the original tree.
Yeah. So it was like, it's kind of funny when you sit there and to do that stuff. But yeah, I think you're right. I mean, that early stuff was all, there was some education, but it was all entertainment. Like now it is, I mean, this is the rabbit hole of like, what's getting put out there with no quality control is like, dude, there's a ton of information out there that is wrong. And people are just consuming it. And I think that a lot of them are consuming it from misinformation education than they are entertainment. Like they're watching this and they're like, oh, that's how I need to manage my hardwoods, or that's how I need to, plant this food plot, or that's how I need to do this. And I'm like, well, no, you're going to fail.
Yeah. It's interesting that like even your examples there, it seems to be mainly like from a land management standpoint.
Side.
Is that still happening? I feel like
yes,
we're fairly competent as a society at hunting, like at understanding deer behavior at this point. I think.
I don't think so.
I think trail cameras way more than 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah. Yes. Because of the observation opportunities and stuff that we have. But I still think that.
Right. In the sense that you don't, like your examples there were how to plant this. Yep. It wasn't, hey, deer hit scrapes this way. Hey, and maybe that's just our mindset being more land management oriented, but I think it's because we have a better understanding of deer.
Yeah.
And we're not quite there as a culture of hunters from a land management standpoint. There's still a lot to be, to learn.
Well, not to bring it like full circle around on it, but like I think it's also because we don't need as much woodsmanship as we used to need. 15 years ago, you needed to have some pretty damn good woodsmanship to get out there and kill a buck with your bow, especially a mature buck. Now it's like I just pattern them, and go sit and kill them.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Like I hate saying that, but it's for sure true. Like the reason that we messed up 15 years ago all the time was like we were just gaining woodsmanship knowledge by failures. Like I would go in and I'm like, man, look at all these scrapes, look at these rubs. Like we got to be getting close to his bed. Oh, there he goes. I bumped him. Like that's what you did.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like I just put this camera here and I just see when he comes through, and then I know how to hunt him.
Mm-hmm.
It's a completely different situation.
Yeah.
It used to. I still think it's kind of funny, but I couldn't tell you the number of years that we hunted a big farm behind Penn Trafford High School, and every year, our stands were basically in the same spot, right?
Yeah.
And so the first 2 weeks of the season, awesome, bucks everywhere, and then it would be like, as you got to like Halloween time frame and rut, you're like, man, this should be great. And deer around. Well, it's because all the crops came down. There wasn't much cover, and those deer moved to where they were probably eating mast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I was in, timber that had been mismanaged. It's cherry trees and stuff. There is no oaks. So you're sitting in these same stands that you had set up for early season throughout the entire season, and it progressively got worse. Like it used to be the joke of the area. It was like, man, we had so many bucks in there in the summertime, and by the time November hit, like I couldn't find a damn deer.
Mm-hmm.
That failure over and over again, eventually I was like, I need to go find acorns. Like when these crops come down and these deer aren't here anymore, it's because they moved to where there's food, where there's acorns. And eventually I found those areas and I'm like, holy shit, here's where they all are. And like even today, like I still see plenty of people that are just hunting like those field edges, and I'm like, do they realize like those deer are moving to the but they're seeing them at night?
Yeah,
do the same thing over and over again.
That's a common situation. I think a lot. Even Drake the other day at the restaurant there was telling me, he's like, yeah, this spot's it's great the first week or two, and I just hear that so often, and like. Unfortunately, the diagnosis is like, hey, the habitat is not it's not conducive to having them there during the hunting season. Mm-hmm. That's where you hear about Sturgis being one of the 20%ers. You know what I mean? Adapting a property to influence a herd by attracting them during those hunting season months.
Yep.
So I mean, if that's the case, there is something lacking with your habitat. There's an improvement needing to be made, or something that's lacking. In most cases, probably food.
Yep.
Yeah, food cover.
Yep. That's it. Those are your three things.
Yeah, that's what they need.
Or you're overpressuring.
Pressure is the major determinant that you are.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, those are the things that like, you know, we learned because we had to have ass in the seat to see that those deer weren't there. People now are just watching a trail camera. And if in their minds they convince themselves, even if that deer's crushing that scrape at 1 a.m., they're like, he's around. And it's like, he's not on that property.
Probably not, yeah.
So it's those are the things that, because we don't have the hands-on woodsmanship to be ass in the stand and fail all the time and just be naive to it, you know, I think it's setting us back in some of those cases from a success standpoint, or what could be a success. Now, obviously, in other areas, it's just astronomically blowing it through the roof. That's why with less hunters, we're killing as many deer as we were with, you know, 20% more from the 90s. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that's a big piece of it. And, you know, not to get down the hunter numbers, but like I know that Ranella tagged us the other day, Matt, not Steve, tagged us the other day as something because we said like there's less hunters, and he's like, there's not less hunters. Like he's adamant about this. And, you know, he's pulling U.S. Fish and Wildlife stats, and in the whitetail states, in the heavy duty whitetail states, there are less hunters than there were in the 90s.
Yeah,
it's a
for
fact.
Sure. Did you look at the USDA numbers?
U.S. Fish and Wildlife? Yes, I did.
I'm sure it says there are less in certain states.
Well, he's pulling the overall
or more.
The overall number more than he is on a state-by-state basis, and that's the flaw. Because I do think that in the western states, there's probably way more hunters than there were in the 90s.
Yeah.
Astronomically.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yep. And that's, I mean, Matt picks on our podcast for some reason now. He's been on a rant with that.
I don't think so. I think he's just pulling and highlighting some things that are
but it's
accurate points.
There are things that we agree with him on. I do not agree that there are more hunters in whitetail states than there were in the 90s. Maybe in the most recent fluctuations.
And facts are facts. I mean, we're dealing in different worlds here. I do think he's probably, I don't have the stats in front of me, he's probably right. There's more hunters in western states, which is where all of his stuff is, Montana and
Yeah, and I know nothing about that stuff.
And in the eastern, Midwestern and eastern states here, we definitely have, less hunters. But along with that, all of the dynamic of increased pressure and everything else that we
decreased access
talked about.
Yeah. So less hunters occupying more properties, causing access issues. That's the
and frankly, a lot of them are for the same reasons. It's increase in technology. That's why we have more hunters. We feel more confident to go to the western states, and it also probably is stemming from increased, even though we have less people, increased pressure on the Midwestern and eastern states. So we go west.
Yeah.
Not just from pressure, but it's an attraction. It's like, hey, I have the ability to kill more than one, and I have I have Onyx.
Yeah, I can go do that in September, and I can come back here in October, and I'm still
super appealing.
Yeah. So it's but
that's why we didn't draw a tag in North Dakota this year, probably.
Yeah, exactly. But going back on the woodsmanship side, I think that's a huge piece of kind of what we're missing in today's community, and I think even. Well, last year, when I went and hunted public here in Pennsylvania, that was the most time I spent just scouting in the woods in 5 years, probably. Just because I was just running and gunning in areas, and I'd drop a camera. And as long as I found a deer that I wanted to hunt, then I would just still scout to figure out where I was going to try to kill him.
Did I remember when I killed that buck in North Dakota? Granted, Lucas was helping me out a lot because he was more familiar with the area and stuff. But the fact that we found that buck track,
it was awesome.
And basically walked it back and just read the topography. No trail camera pictures of the deer or anything, even in that area. Wow. That was pretty satisfying.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be like, I couldn't think of a better situation to be able to find the buck track, walk it back onto the island, read the topography, hang the stand, kill the deer first night. I was like, that's what it's about.
That's woodsmanship. Yeah, and there's a satisfaction in that, of basically relying on those skills and having it pan out. Some of the best times I ever had hunting were just going out in the woods and finding a big fresh scrape and a big rub and climbing in a tree and being like, I have no idea what made this.
Yeah.
The naiveness to
epic
what it could be, right? Now it's most of the time when you do that, you're like, I know exactly who I'm in here after. I know exactly what he looks like.
Probably is.
Yeah. So it's, that mystery being taken away, we've talked about before, is a bit of a downfall, I think, in the hunting experience. So that you just have to figure out other ways to create the experience higher in a notch, whether that's with bow or trad or public or whatever it is. finding some way to kind of bring that experience back to that higher level. Because yeah, man, that mystique that used to occur was something. Like the daydreaming. I would say I visualize now of what the deer is going to do when I'm in the stand versus back then I daydreamed about what it would look like coming over that hill or coming around that bend or coming through these grapevines.
Yeah.
You know, so two similar but different situations where now I was like, I know who it is and this is how he's going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's a tough thing for people not to have that early form of like, you just didn't know.
Yeah. It's definitely different. That's one of the biggest dynamic shifts, I think, in the past 10 or 15 years, or along with cameras, was knowing what's there.
Yeah. I mean, even the guy, I went and looked at a property, really great Pennsylvania property here yesterday. And the guy was like, you know, he's a hunter, but not a big hunter. And he's like, yeah, man. He's like, I got 7 or 8 cameras out here. I know it. He didn't even hunt that much, but he's like, I know every deer that's coming through here, you know? And that was like, if you were not hunting much in an area, you had no idea. Like the guys who were out there scouting and spotlighting and doing that, those were the guys who knew what bucks were in the area.
Yeah.
You know, now it's like anybody can know what's in the area.
Yeah.
Just have to put out some cameras.
Yeah. It's wild.
Which is why it amazes me that people are pretty adamant still that there are certain deer that are like not known. I just find that very hard to believe in most states. Maybe like some of these far western Kansas and Oklahoma, vast terrain. No. But in most of like the major whitetail states, like a big deer doesn't get by not being known.
Mm-mm.
They're known. Somebody has them on camera. Somebody's seen them.
Yeah.
They've experienced human interaction. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Same reason I don't believe in Bigfoot.
Yeah, we would have caught him by now.
There's too much human presence. We'd have seen him by now. We'd have picked him up.
Yeah. There's got to be more.
Sorry, Mike.
Got to be more to it than the knocking.
Yeah. Right.
So, anyways, I guess we'll do a couple things here before we wrap up. Number one, if you're listening to this, hopefully you saw us at PA TAC. This will be air after PA TAC. So I think we were up there on Saturday, hopefully.
Yep.
Knock on wood. I know most of our guys are East Coast, Midwest guys, but if anyone's going to Utah TAC event in July,
we'll be there for that too.
We'll be there for that.
On Friday.
Yep.
17th.
Yep. So that is, where is that? That's on Snowshoe? No.
I thought it used to be at Snowbird. I'm not sure if it's just go on the tax site and it's, look at the Utah one.
So we'll be at the Utah one for Friday.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool. If you're there, that'll be fun. You shot that one before.
I did.
I have not. I'm excited about being in the mountains and like doing that. Yeah.
It's fun.
No spare boys.
No spare boys this time. I'll be in Solomon's. I'll tell you what, I don't want to give away my secret necessarily, but my Solomons that I wear, they, I think they discontinued that color, which sucks because they're like
hunter green.
Well, they have like some other greens, but just not. I just don't like them as much. I had to go and overpay for them because they're like the last of their kind.
Bought them before extinction.
Yeah, so I went and I bought another pair, just
stacking them up,
just to have, But
nice. So yeah, we'll be at that, and then obviously the. What's now called the Whitetail Roadshow, Mobile Hunter Roadshow, Whitetail Roadshow at your farm on the 9th.
I think it's the 9th, the Saturday
of August.
Yep.
So those are the events that we know we're going to be at in the upcoming future if you guys are out and about.
Yeah, and that one is limited tickets. I think it's a limit of 200 tickets, so if they're not sold out already, you guys can jump on and get that on the Whitetail Roadshow website. It might kick you over to the Dying Breed Bow Hunter website, but it's on one of the two.
Yeah, there's probably not many left. I know a lot of people have sent us screenshots that have bought them, so that'll be cool that'll kind of be like our hunter event, really.
Yeah.
Just being in that, because we'll be there.
It'll be fun. We'll have a big campfire, and I got some local kids there because we're gonna park on the adjacent hillside. We'll have them run back and forth with the machines. And
nice.
We'll set up a long distance bow shot. They'll do some kind of a little relay race type thing. I gotta find a freaking tree close to the house there to do some demos on the newsstands and stuff like that. But maybe we'll do. It's got to be in a limited capacity, like a kind of a quick farm tour. If we want to figure something out like that.
VIP pricing.
We'll figure something out. Yeah, that's right.
Any other events that I'm thinking of or forgetting?
PA and Utah TAC got the August Roadshow. No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so. It's just kind of now NODAC is off the docket for September 1st. We got to kind of figure out what that's looking like. But no, I mean, dude, June is just like I said, maintenance trip to Illinois. July is starting to get stuff killed off for fall plots, starting to get cameras ripping back out.
Staying hung.
I don't think we're gonna make it to Kansas now until season sometime, given the situation here. So
which is all right.
It's fine.
Yep, we'll just spend getting everything else ready. So yeah, I mean, I think that's it, guys. But like, hopefully we see. I know we'll see. You guys will hear this late, but I know we'll see a bunch of guys at the PA TAC event. That's always a big one for us to get involved with people.
I'd consider going to is it Jurassic Classic in Ohio?
In Ohio.
Yeah, is that one that's coming up? I know the digital taxidermist said he's going to be in for that.
Yep, that's that's this summer sometime.
Maybe we'll try to go something like that.
Hit it up for a day or something. Yeah, we'll see where any of our partners or anything's going to be at for that stuff too. But that's kind of the works, guys. We appreciate everyone listening. Episode 254 of HUNTR Podcast. Hopefully, we'll see you guys at one of those events, and we'll catch you next week.
Later.
Take me